Amateur.
Are you ready for The Last Jedi? Episode 8. PJ, the Paradox Nerd's favorite film ever. Not just Star Wars film, favorite film. Coming up next. All right. We're not doing the whole 30-second intro.
First of all, that was the worst intro I've ever seen in my life.
The worst or the best? It's one or the other. I feel like it was probably the best, honestly.
I don't know.
Every word was true.
Speechless.
Do you own the Blu-ray for The Last Jedi?
Actually, surprisingly, I have the set. I have the Skywalker saga set.
Okay.
So
that's a little surprising.
I know. Again, I blocked the last two movies of the set, the saga set. I enjoyed the rest of them. Gotcha. But it's good though. It's a good set because they've got it's pretty much everything except for like some of the Rogue One and the solo movies. So
yeah.
So
all right, how you guys doing tonight, Leo? How you doing, man? You excited to talk some of the most controversial Star Wars film of all time?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
I'm definitely ready to go. I mean, for many reasons that might be surprising to some, and let's go.
All right. All right. PJ, how about you, man?
I'm not ready. I don't know how this stream is gonna go. Just because you know what it is. Like I said, I think when the Last Jedi came out, I had like a lot of like live streams at that time, and I was talking to a lot of people, a lot of Star Wars fans. Sorry, I'm just fixing my mic. I'm like,
no, go for it, dude.
There you go. Oh, I messed it up.
It wasn't overheat that time because all the other times your camera overheats.
Yeah. So anyway, while I fix this, So basically, I haven't had like a full blown like Last Jedi conversation in a very long time. Let's just put it that way.
Well, so it's going to be great, man.
It's going to be interesting. So
and it's King Dingling here to enjoy the show.
Oh, absolutely! A live stream ain't a live stream without the Ding-a-ling master. So.
He is the Ding-a-ling master. Danny Lee's in the house. Danny Lee, what's up, man? Comics, what's up, Comics? Also here. Doc Smizzle. I feel like Doc has had a different name before because I remember the avatar, but I feel like the username was different.
I think it might be the same Smizzle.
Is it? Okay.
For
maybe Doc. I don't know, Doc. Smizzle. I remember you. I remember the avatar because Castaway.
Mm-hmm.
He said, what's up, fellas? Can't wait to chat about the movie. The fam and I are going through a Star Wars marathon right now, about to hit up Rogue One this week. We'll have to talk about Rogue One at some point.
Oh, I would love to talk about Rogue One at some point.
Because that's when I think we're all going to... I probably like it a little bit less than you guys, but I do like it.
I think it's just one of those movies that age really, really well.
I agree
with
like
that. Super, like I've seen Rogue One like ranked number 5 or 6 in like people's like I guess like top 9 movies, and then it slowly creeped up to like to number 4, and now it's hitting people's like top 3. So it's really interesting how that.
And we got Master Beater in the house.
Oh God,
Master Beater himself,
the one and only, the King Master Beater. Well, King Dingling's here, so we got him and Master Beater in the house. So
oh my gosh, that's a lot of dinglings and
Master Beater. Are you prepared for this chat tonight?
Hey man, you saw me earlier.
You were watching it.
I was watching it. Stay on the part, man. He didn't even watch it.
I don't know. I don't think I need to watch. I mean,
he didn't want to relive that post-traumatic stress.
You know what? It's not. It's not as bad as you think it is. You should have watched it again. That is the entire purpose of this thing.
I want you to relive your trauma.
Yeah.
I try. I mean, I have tried in the past. It's just that I just can't get past certain scenes, man. Oh, especially the Canto Bite. That one.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But
I'd rather get like punched in the nuts because that's probably more. That's less.
If Abby punched you, you'd like it though. So.
Oh, that dude. I might even.
You wanted to do it.
I might get a little excited from that.
Mario Cortez, the one and only, is here. Doc Smizzle, yep, the one and only himself too. And we got Harry Fraser. Harry Fraser's awesome, dude. He has been one of my biggest supporters for the longest time. Become one of my good friends. That dude. I'm glad
Oh,
he's
nice.
here tonight. Yeah,
Shout
he's
out to
awesome.
You
Harry
have one,
Fraser.
but
Yeah, I have one, just the one, just the one, and then you three. That's it. So, guys, we
Yeah.
watched. Besides PJ, we watched The Last Jedi. Before we get into like our overall thoughts on this film,
oh, here we go. Foreplay.
foreplay. With this
Oh my
foreplay,
God.
like PJ, let me start by asking you, why didn't you watch it again? Was it time, or do you really not want to relive it?
Yeah, you know what it is. Trust me, guys. Again, like, for me, I try not to be super biased with a lot of my opinions and stuff like that. And when that movie came, there's been like a lot of times where I went back and I watched it and it's like, come on, it's me. Like, there's something wrong with me. I'm not. This is one of the first times I'm not like liking a Star Wars movie. Like, even the Rise of Skywalker, in the majority of it, except for the ending, I enjoyed it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this one was just like a tough pill to swallow, especially like how it starts. Like, where
Yeah.
you're like, whoa, what is going on here? This is totally different. And I don't know if you want me to dive into it, but yeah, it's just one of those things where, the beginning scene was pretty cool, but then it just comes to a screeching halt when there was like some like banter between Hux and Poe, and I was just like, what's going on here? Like, this is like way too long, and it's different. I don't know. It's just, you see, and especially with the poster, it's very deceiving. You're thinking like, this is gonna be a dark movie, and it's gonna be similar to like The Empire Strikes Back, and I don't know. It's just weird. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if we're gonna dive into it right now, but
we are. And PJ, I kind of want to save you for last on this one because
Okay.
I feel like you have probably more thoughts on this film than anybody. So I feel like if we have you go first, then I feel like it sort of undermines that because we have so much that I think you need to get off your chest here. So
Oh, I've let it. I've yeah. Let's just go.
it's gonna be, but optical. I want to start with you actually because I think you and I, like, I'm probably a bigger Star Wars fan than you, I would say, but like I do feel like we're more casual than Leao and PJ are with it. So I feel like as someone who's like a casual fan of Star Wars, like you watched Last Jedi again to get today. What's your overall thoughts?
So it's funny. The first time I watched this was when it came out to 4K. So I watched it there. Then right after that is today. So I don't know how long has it been, but this is good because I watched this right after The Force Awakens. Well, not right after, but it's pretty close. So it's still fresh. Are we going overall thoughts now, or
Yeah,
just
overall thoughts. Just overall thoughts on the film. Like, what you
Okay.
think?
me? And this is me not being a Star Wars fan. I'm judging this as a movie. It's pretty bad.
What?
That's actually surprised me
Wow.
a little bit. Yeah.
It is bad because in a sense that like a lot of things happened that didn't need to happen, like them going to that casino that adds no purpose to the movie, right? Like
Right.
even them going to that side quest, which adds no value because they're the only three who knows that they're gonna turn off the shield anyway, not the rest of the crew. So they didn't even care what's going on there, and it didn't even work. And then what else? Luke, and I mind you, I'm not, I don't have any physical connection with Luke or anything. Like he used the just towards the end. Okay, maybe I'm jumping too much here, but yeah,
No, go for
that's a fresh one. Towards the end, he used this hologram kind of thingy, so he won't get hurt. Yet he died. I was like, well, why don't you just be physical there then? It's just like, why just be there? It's just, isn't that the whole point? So you're not present there, and then you just died out of what's like sadness again. And then they said towards the end, I was like, oh, he just died. But not at peace. I was like, you see what happened to Kylo in the last movie? Was that worth it? It was just like, but overall, not only that, there was just, I think PJ already said this before. It looks like there was no plan. So they came in here blind, and not only that, like, and it's okay to have different directors because Marvel has different directors, but they follow a certain path. It was like, all right, here's what we're gonna do. Now it's your interpretation. Do however you want to do, but this is the end point, right? With them, it looks like I don't know. Like visually, they're better, I would say, because they're newer movies. But the direction is just all over the place. There's a lot of things that was supposed to be explained that never happened. By watching this movie today, and you guys know, I stopped in the I don't know, like an hour mark. The first hour was kind of doable, but it never just had any moments like the Force Awakens where Kylo came out and he's a badass, and then you see Finn with the blood on his face. Those are moments that, you know, in here maybe the last 20 minutes, the last 15, when you saw Luke and then he showed up, you know, going toe to toe, but it's not really toe to toe, so he didn't nothing. So it's like all worthless. And and even Ray, there was nothing explained. Snoke died a stupid death. You know, he's supposed to be like this. He's supposed to be this new badass. All they did was turn the lightsaber and turn it on. It was just like, and he didn't detect that. He didn't. For everything that he is powerful, he never detected that it's moving sideways right next to him. So, so it's just like, and then the lobster guys that's just fighting Kylo. I don't know why it's a red room. A lot of things that just didn't make sense. Like it's not even aesthetically pleasing, you know, like even the salt, I see that, you know, so it looks blood. Maybe, you know, when they were in the final scene, it was like, oh, it looks blood, it's salt. So maybe because he's not really there, so maybe just to mask that he's not dying. So, you know, but yeah, it's as a film by itself, and this is me not having any love for any Star Wars character. I'm just judging it by a film. No, even just by itself, it's not good, and that's where it pulls, I believe, the Force Awakens down. That's a good movie.
So, like as a sequel, you don't think it works either, but it definitely doesn't work as a standalone.
It doesn't work as a standalone because they did a lot of things that didn't accomplish anything. I didn't like Kylo right after that scene where, you know, he's supposed to be being killed. He's supposed to, you know, make him look you know, like, hey, you know what? You're supposed to have some sort of compassion. That's why he became like this. But it never happened. They're saying that they're humanizing Luke, that he does have flaws. Even after when Yoda showed up, I mean, Luke Skywalker at this point is what, 72 years old? And it was like, we're burning books. Like, it looks like he never learned anything. You're supposed to be wiser when you get older. And Yoda was just like, it's not the book, son. I was like, come on, Luke. This is like, you're 72 now. You're supposed to like, okay, I'm passing you this Jedi, you know, whatever. It just didn't work. Like everything from dialogue to scenes, and I don't know, man. There's no moments. There's no moments in this, and no wonder I forgot about this movie.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that I'm probably going to agree with you on that. But before I do that, I definitely want to go to Leo on this one, because Leo, as a diehard Star Wars fan, I feel like you're going to give a very unique opinion here from PJs and from opticals, because I know, like you were saying before we started, like you might surprise some people a little bit. But so I really want to hear what your overall thoughts are on The Last Jedi, because I think this is going to be interesting.
So I didn't think it was as bad as everyone may, you know, everyone else. And I explain you why. Okay. Let me go through the good. I'm gonna start with the good first. Okay. So if they wanted to basically create a spectacle of a film, they did that. They achieved that cinematically, like just the cinematography in the very beginning, just the, you know, the even you know, from the opening scene, you know, with the actual bombers, you know, with, you know, how well you know, it was the dreadnought looked. You know what I mean? I liked it. I liked the cinematography of it. I liked just that one scene with oh, I forget her name. Taika. What's her name in the movie?
Wait, are you talking about Rose Tico's sister?
Rose Tico's sister.
Oh,
So I love Rose's sister's scene, and I love basically how, you know, she held on to the medallion, knowing that she was going to actually die. That was her connection to, you know, say if there was anything that I've gotten right, it was this at this particular moment. You know, she gave herself and her life, you know, to save others. I did like that particular scene. You know, I just off of the sheer scale of that opening scene and what we actually saw, it was amazing. Like just visually seeing it. I did like, you know, even the banter or the explanations or just the chemistry between Luke and Rey. Now, not saying that, and I'm going to get into the dislikes later in a second, but not saying so much about that, but just the back and forth and the explanation that Luke gave to Rey as to his reasoning why he felt as though the Jedi had to die. Because, and what he was saying, a lot of it made sense. Regardless of the path or the route that they took with Luke, a lot of what he was saying made absolutely good sense, even though I thought that what he was saying should have came from someone else. Knowing that this is the Luke Skywalker that we've grown to love for so long, we've been on this journey, and the entire the saga is the Skywalker saga. And if you're looking at Luke's journey from, New Hope to Empire, Empire to Jedi, Jedi to even some of the game material and the game footage, like this is the ultimate Jedi. This is someone who basically believes in the Force and has that connection to the Force that can't be wavered. Because even in certain games, and if they would have if they stuck to source material, Kylo and Ben wasn't his first pupil. You know what I mean? So to look at it that way, I think they kind of missed the point there. But regardless, I like that banter between Luke and Rey. I like that. I also I liked, in the very end, I like the throne room battle. I did like that. I like just basically the cinematography there, the slowed motion into like speeding it back up to like just normal speed. Just like the red cloaking behind. I like the Praetorian guards. At least we got a chance to see somebody do something, because we got let down. You know what I mean? With the Knights of Ren, with the Praetorian guards, we got a chance to see something. So I love that. So I did love that scene, even though there was one part, and I don't know if, I'm pretty sure everybody didn't really miss that. When, Rey was fighting the one Praetorian guard, he had two blades in his hand, and then automatically the other disappeared. So that was, something that they kind of effed up on in editing. But other than that, I did like it. I even liked, Luke's battle with Kylo, and to kind of like, with Optical, he said it didn't make sense with him. The Force projection, it was sort of like explained earlier by Kylo when he said that much effort would have killed you, meaning that you projecting yourself way across the galaxy, basically to another planet, trying to hold that, it's like a Force projection. Really what it is the imagery in one's mind. If they actually see that person who's really not there, but it's only meant for them. So for him to project that across the galaxy the way he did took a lot out of him. Of course, he knew he was going to die at that particular point. So that was the only way. The only thing that didn't make sense about that scene is, and this is sort of like leading into the next film, which we're not going to do, is you gave Rey the X-Wing. You pulled it out of the water and you gave it to her. So why did you not use that? You know what I mean? To get to that planet. Like, why didn't you use the X-Wing to get to Crate? It made absolutely no sense. But like I said, just for the story's narrative, I guess this is where they wanted to go. And this also proves that they had no plan. But those were the likes for me. Okay. Just those. Now, for the dislikes, Canto Bite, they could have got rid of that. That was a lost cause. They didn't need that at all. That whole scene, everything that happened with it made absolutely no sense. I don't even know where they were going with it, why they put it. It was just for a filler. If you were looking for like comic relief, come on, man, you missed the plot on that. That was terrible. They should have got rid of that. Some of the language that they were using, come on, man, like they were using Poe. Some of the stuff that he was saying was like modern times. It was like, come on, man, like they're not going to. I wouldn't imagine anything like that being said or spoken in the galaxy far, far away. Like, come on, man. Like, seriously, it doesn't make sense. So it was like the dialogue made absolutely no sense at certain points. So, I mean, just as a moviegoer and someone who just like listens a lot and likes these films, it's like when you hear the stuff that they're saying, it's like, come on, man. Like, really, that makes no sense. And it was just lazy writing. Like, it was lazy writing in this film, man. They missed the plot. I mean, that was terrible. Ultimately, what they did with Luke, I did not agree with at all. What they did with him, I did not agree with at all. They made him the most disgruntled, like very hard-edged, disliked the Jedi, wasn't willing to help. And that's not the Luke that we know. I mean, he's full of hope. This is the person that we know that's hope. I mean, next to the person, the chosen one, this is the chosen one's son. This is Anakin's son, one of the most powerful Jedi in the universe. This is his son. So it's passed down to the father. I am a Jedi like my father before me. He said, I am a Jedi like my father. So which means he believes in that. And then to get to this particular film and Ryan Johnson to write it the way he did with absolutely no full explanation as to how he got to that point, because it really, really wasn't. I don't care if they're talking about, his failure with Ben. No, a failure with one and basically say, okay, because Ben, destroyed his, he killed off some of his students and whatever. Okay, I understand that. But this is Luke. You think this is the first time he actually saw loss and he have experienced loss? No, he knows he's a student of the Force. So there's a lot more that he knows than pretty much a lot. So, to write him that way and to write his character that way. And then on top of that, to kill him off the way they did, it made absolutely no sense. And I think Ryan Johnson just used his advantage. He wanted that wow factor that we just talked about before we started. He wanted his moment. So the way he wrote Luke, I guess he basically felt as though I'm going to have my moment. And like someone else said, Mark Hamill did not like this. He did not like the way Luke was written. And he expressed that. Even if you watch the documentary, he said, no, I didn't agree with it, but it's not my film. I just have to do what I can do. And once that film is over, he started talking his ish. He was like, I didn't like it at all. So even though the film had opportunity to build off of something that was grand and there were good moments in the film, what they did with Luke, also, you're throwing in a character such as Snoke with absolutely hardly any background. And if anything, I thought Snoke should have been like the main antagonist going into the next film. If you're going to introduce him, don't kill him off in the second and just say he was a clone. Come on. That doesn't make sense to me. None of that really, really makes sense to me. But I guess this is basically what their attempt. But again, this is what happens when you have absolutely zero plot. You don't follow through. You have such a great film that Force Awakens potentially could have been. You're going into this film and it just completely wipes away everything that we saw in Force Awakens. But at the same time, there were certain moments that I actually had to gravitate to say, you know what? And then another thing that I didn't like is the way they did Finn. They just made him a complete background character. So it's like, yo, I don't know. And like I said, going to Orlando, when Ryan Johnson was there, he assured everybody that this was going to be a great film. Like, oh, you're going to enjoy this. This is going to be, and everybody was there, was full of hope. We loved the trailer when we saw it. We were like, okay, cool. This is something that we can enjoy. But once we saw that bag of ish, it was like, yo, come on. Like, what's all this? Like, what did we get? What did I pay my money for? You mean I went to Orlando, got pneumonia, came home, waited till this film dropped to see this bag of ish? Like, come on, man. But yet and still, like I said, I still supported, and I didn't fall out of love with Star Wars. I just didn't like the direction that they basically took. So that's just me. That's just me in a nutshell. But at the same time, like I said, I still liked certain characters, and I held on to hopes thinking that they would actually clean up in the next film and make it make sense, and it didn't. So yeah, it's a hard pass for me when it comes to this film. But at the same time, I try to find things that I can enjoy, things that I do love. And on top of that, I don't completely hate Rey's character. I don't hate it, because the thing is, I think that they have so much potential. Even now, they still have potential to fix what was broken with her and Finn. They can fix it. It just depends on how. And now that actually falls on the hands of what's his name? Filoni, Dave Filoni. It falls on his hands, and we already know that he's the master of course correction, bro. He can take something and he can, make it make sense, and take these characters and make them believable again. So I'm hoping that that's something that they can do. But yeah, this film, yeah, man, it's a hard pass for me, bro. I should have. Yeah, nah. I saw it in the theater. That was the one film that I saw in the theaters only twice, and I only went to see it the second time just to see if it would make sense, and it didn't change my opinion. Didn't.
So where I think I hear you saying, Leo, is once Filoni gets a hold of Rey, that Rey Rise of Skywalker is going to be hot on the secondary market.
It takes 7 seasons of animated.
Possibly.
Would you say, Optical?
Is it gonna take 7 seasons of animated cartoons before we like Ray, kind of like what happened?
Probably.
I don't know. You know what? They might not even throw it in animation. They might do it in something totally different. You know?
Maybe so. I think they could maybe do a Ray show. Do a Disney Plus series, like a limited series of Ray. I think they could.
Too soon.
We'll give it 5 years.
Way too soon. I think what they would have to do is they have to shoehorn her into another film, or just basically put her in another film, or either build up to a certain thing and bring her in as maybe a supporting character in like a season of a show or something like that, and they can take her from there. But her having her own show right now, the backlash that character already has, it is way too soon, man. It's way too soon.
But maybe if Filoni and Favreau are running it, then people might be more accepting of that. You know what I mean? Like they might be like, I say give it 5 years. Like I said, give it 5 years.
That's you know what? That's like Kyrie Irving stepping on the Boston logo and then wanting to go back to Boston and thinking that everybody's going to accept him. No.
There's nothing he could do at that point.
No.
I saw the Nets did just win their series though. So
that was a surprise.
Yeah, I know. But
I'm a big Nets fan now.
All right, I'm sure.
This year.
Are the Bulls in the playoffs, Optical?
No.
Oh, I was thinking. See, I have no. Well, I know the Lakers are about to lose.
COVID towards the end. We were like 8th spot. You got COVID.
See, got to bring MJ out of retirement, dude. So PJ,
there we go.
PJ, let's just prepare ourselves for this one. Gather around the fire. Just let PJ here have a vent session and just go into the Last Jedi. PJ, the floor is yours.
Oh my goodness, I don't know where. I don't even know where to start. So I'll start off with The Force Awakens. I think a lot of us, and even in the panel, agreed that it was a good start for Disney Star Wars, right? It made it was one of the, if not one of the highest grossing Star Wars films of all time. And again, it attracted a lot of new Star Wars fans, which I was really happy about. Like it attracted you, right, Will? Into getting to liking Star Wars. So I think a lot of points that Lael and even Optical had pointed out was that I feel like with The Last Jedi, and this is where the disconnect is that everything that The Force Awakens set up was literally, no pun intended, thrown away when Luke Skywalker threw that lightsaber behind him. That was the pinnacle, or the moment that was the moment where things are different with this movie. You kind of sensed it with the banter in the beginning with Poe and Hux. You're like, okay, that was kind of weird, but whatever. And but then we waited 3 effing years for Rey to give that scene where it was one of the biggest cliffhangers in Star Wars history, right? All right, where you have Rey trying to give Luke Skywalker or Anakin Skywalker's saber to Luke, and to wait 3 years for Luke to take it, look at it, and throw it behind him, and then what? Why? What was the point of that? To get a laugh like that? For people that know Star Wars and who follow Star Wars, knows that lightsaber hilt is very iconic. It was when Ben Kenobi in the first movie gave that saber to there it is, to Luke, right? I mean, we have some memes where Luke could have poked his eye out if he turned it on, but regardless, it was a very iconic scene. It was when Obi-Wan picked up that lightsaber after he fought Anakin in Revenge of the Sith. That saber has a lot of history, and to see that history get thrown, behind Luke's back, that was just like, what? Okay. All right, let's start off with that. We were like, okay, we'll let that slide. Maybe that was just for a laugh, and then things just got kind of out of hand, where you're starting to see Luke being this pessimistic character that you don't understand or don't recognize. You're like, who is this person? This is not the Luke that would not even disobey, not even listen to Obi-Wan Kenobi or Yoda in trying not to save his friends. Like he went out to go and save his friends regardless. Like this guy is like, I'm shutting myself away from everybody. I hate everybody. And you could tell, like, he didn't even want Ray to be there. He's like, who are you? You know? There's so many things. There's so many things with this movie that was a lot of missed. A lot of opportunities missed. Like when you hear Han being like getting killed by Kylo, wouldn't that take you out of retirement? Like, oh my gosh, like I got to do something about this, right? Like my sister needs me. Nah, I'm gonna stay in this freaking hotel with all these like alien nuns or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me catch this fish or drink this
Green
blue
milk.
milk.
Yeah, that was stupid.
And again, this is like, so I looked into like this whole situation, and I think that Ryan Johnson got the go ahead to write his own write the Last Jedi script without the Force Awakens being like wrapping up with filming. Like the film hasn't been finished yet, and you're going to write the second movie. And again, this is now facts now, because J.J. Abrams came out and said, "Hey, listen, there was no plan. There was a plan. People don't realize that there was a plan. George Lucas had the plans, but because Disney didn't feel that they didn't want to dive into the quote unquote midichlorians, or they thought that his script was like that it wouldn't capture like casual fans, and they wanted to get more casual fans into liking Star Wars, so that's why they were like, okay, peace out, Cub Scout, George Lucas, we're going to go with a different direction. George Lucas had the outlines. He had everything laid out. Darth Talon was supposed to be the main bad guy in this trilogy. I get it, with Disney, they want to incorporate female characters and things like that. Why not incorporate a badass female character like Darth Talon? You know what I'm saying? They want to incorporate Rey and make her like this. I'm not even going to use the Mary. I'm not going to use that word, but just so powerful, and like
please
they
don't
want,
use that word.
I know, but I'm saying like they want to use Rey as like this representative for like for
It's like a feminist icon. Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, you're doing it the wrong way. There's so many organic ways to do that. Alien Ripley. Dude, we even have like Army of the Dead, like Chambers. Like, how awesome is that? No one was against it. There was no like a-hole that was like, I don't like to see female characters being so strong.
Yeah, there's some, but you don't listen to those people anyway.
But it's very few. It's not forced.
It's few.
But I'm saying it's not forced. I think that in the 21st century, I think we progress as a society enough to really accept that there are some strong. I mean, not some. There's a lot of strong female characters, i.e., Cara Dune before she went on a political,
Ahsoka.
rant.
Who
Ahsoka.
people say you're a simp for, but
Yeah.
but I don't think
I
so.
like I love Ahsoka, but see, those are organic ways of doing it. Instead of like, okay, we're just gonna make this person super powerful and not explain it, And that was the thing with like that scene in the cave where you saw Rey with like a billion mirrors, right? Like, what was that supposed to represent? We still don't know. You see some figures that was like behind that like glass or that mirror. And they didn't explain that. Even to this day, I don't even know what that means. Does anybody know what that means?
No, I was gonna ask you guys.
Which one?
The one with her in the mirror where she sees herself like repeating over and over.
Yeah.
The thing is, they had.
Probably need a director's cut to explain that. Probably.
You know what? When I remember seeing that in the theater, and something clicked, and it kind of made it not made sense, but I was like, okay, this moment and that scene, it has potential. If we want to know her lineage, and if we basically see the scene where she's snapping her fingers, there's multiple versions of her. Then we get to the when the reveal was the two bodies that were connected, or that she was looking at who she thought was her parents connected, and it became her. It was just her. I was under the impression when I saw it, I was like, okay, listen, maybe this is revealing the simple fact that she's a clone. Okay.
I thought
that
so
there's
too.
multiple versions of her, you know, that were out there to the point that they got to one that was perfected. And I was like, okay, something like that would make sense. And what almost clarified that for me is when we actually got a chance to see the Rise of Skywalker trailer, and then they introduced the dark side Rey. Everybody's like, yo, then that makes sense. She is a clone, or maybe, you know, they said in the third. That scene still, to me, it doesn't make sense. Like it doesn't.
Exactly.
Like it didn't really make sense as to why it was needed and why they put that there. And I guess the only one that can fully explain it and never did explain it was Rian Johnson, because he's the one that wrote it in the
It's
actual
ambiguous,
script.
but I don't think anyone really.
Because he's a douche. No, I'm just kidding.
But you know
was
what?
kidding.
Other
kidding,
good
I was
movies though. Just this one wasn't.
Just
the best.
wasn't what, and you know what? It was crazy because even Daisy really talked about it when she got the script and she read it. Because like I said, her being someone who was just introduced in the Lord with, you know, Force Awakens, had to go back and do some research. And she even asked and talked to, yo, listen, this is how crazy it was. She got the script. She went to George Lucas to get some information, you know, just to kind of find out about, you know, if she can get some history on the Jedi, Rey's backstory, this, that, and the third. You know what Lucas told her? I didn't write it. He said, literally, I didn't write it. So if you want that information, you have to, I didn't really write it. You know what I mean? I can give you history on the Force and the connection to the Force and the characters that I know, but I didn't write that script. So that just let me know right then there, George Lucas wasn't on board with that. You know what I mean? And the thing is, George Lucas had a treatment for episodes 7, 8, 9.
Absolutely.
That they refused to use, bro. And basically they told him that when they bought it, oh yeah, no, not a problem. Once they got it off his hands, they completely scrapped everything. He's sitting back laughing at them right now, bro. Like, yeah, okay. See, I told you so. Why would you, if it's somebody who knows, bro, this is his baby. This is something that he knows. These are the characters that he's developed. Now, mind you, he developed the storyline and the narrative that we got for, you know,
but
episodes.
The prequels exist.
Yeah, and the prequels do exist.
So I'm not sure. I don't know. You shouldn't promise you're going to do it, then not do it. But like,
exactly,
I'm not sure. It's hard to say without reading it. But
it's hard. But at the same time, like even like because I went back after I saw the movie, because I refused to read the book. I didn't want to read the actual Last Jedi book. So I watched the film first and then went back to read the book to get it back. Bro, if anyone who's actually read the book and you watch the film, there were some things in it that they could have used, but they didn't, for the sake of just putting all these scrap pieces on the editing floor and not using it. It made absolutely no sense. It really didn't. So it's like, yo, like as a Star Wars fans and as you know, most of us are, it did, you know, for some it did, and it was divisive, but it did let a few people down. Like I just felt that it was a huge letdown, bro. It really, really was.
Yeah, and you know, for me, it's like, with George, you know, and I always say this to people that, you know, are arguing, you know, discussing with me about the Last Jedi and arguing with me about the Last Jedi. I'm like, listen, do you want to? Right, if Stanley wrote these comic books, and then there was a guy who was writing them as well, like, and said like, no, I'm not gonna follow Stan Lee's versions. I'm gonna make my own version of Silver Surfer. I'm gonna make my own version of Spider-Man, and it's not the Spider-Man that you know to that you grew up with. Would you be like, wait a minute, what is going on here? You know, would you want to come in? Wouldn't you want stories that comes from the person who created it, rather than from someone that they think that they know it? Like, come on, like, why wouldn't you just take those stories? First of all, if you weren't gonna like use his stories, why do 7, 8, and 9? You should have just did like the Knights of the Old Republic and did your own version. Right now they're making High Republic. Why didn't you just do that? Why bring all these iconic characters back to the screen just to destroy them? In my opinion, you know, what torch were you passing down? What's his name? Oscar Isaac doesn't want to come back.
No,
What's his name? John Boyega doesn't want to come back.
no.
Ray,
Ridley's the only one. They probably would,
maybe
yeah.
Ray's a big maybe, and it depends on like right.
Yeah.
I don't know about John Boyega though, bro. If you throw the right amount of dollars to him, if you write a really decent script, I think they can change.
You give
his
him the
mind,
right
bro.
director and say you're going to
Yep.
be the lead.
I think they
Yeah.
can change his mind. They
The
would.
thing is,
It's not like he's
hard.
busy doing something. But
Yeah, but I'm just saying that
He's not doing a lot right. I mean, he's doing some things. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he's doing a couple of decent things, but nothing on that platform. And if the opportunity was there, I mean, come on. If you can do what is it, Pacific Rim 2
Yeah. Yeah, that movie was not great.
was horrible, bro.
Yeah.
If you can do that, you can come back and do this film. Come on, man. Let's go.
I the thing is though, I think though he said a lot of things that express
not
how
bring him
this.
back,
Yeah.
Yeah, like especially dude, like they did him dirty. Out of all the characters, they did him the dirtiest.
Yeah.
Him and actually, what's her name, Rose. Like
Yeah,
as
Rose.
as an Asian,
Yeah, they did her
know,
terrible.
they did her terrible. Like
They did her terrible. And then on top of that, the promise that we got that character would be fixed in the Last Jedi. I mean, in Rise of Skywalker, and look what happened. So
nothing.
yeah, I think that's what pissed me off the most.
Yeah,
That's what really pissed me off the most.
exactly. If you're including diversity, right, like in your
Yeah.
movies and everything, but why piss on the characters? You know what I'm saying? Like
Diversity
you did-
took a back seat in Rise of Skywalker, bro. I mean, I'm in the Last Jedi. It did.
It's just like I mean,
It
but
did.
like they're I don't know. Anyway, like going back to the movie, like Luke is a whole bunch of it's a big mess. The only thing that I love about this movie is Kylo Ren. His descent to the dark side is consistent, super consistent. Rey, I don't know what's up with Rey. Like she goes to try and train with Luke, and is like barely wielding a lightsaber, and then now she's fighting the Praetorian guards. Like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah. She got like
You know,
no training.
She
So,
had like two
I'll
or
leave
three
it in
days.
at that. Yeah.
2 or 3
And
days.
there was nothing of substance really.
Yeah.
and kind
You
of
know what?
saying
The-
to her like you're nothing. You came from nothing. Your parents threw you away. And Ray's mind was just like, bitch, I just beat you and Luke Skywalker the other day. What do you mean I came from nothing? It was just like I disarmed Luke Skywalker.
Right.
And like they're making her looks like she's an underdog. But how can you be an underdog? You found Luke when Luke just said he went to the planet where you can't really find him. Yet if they found him, beat him on a duel, basically with nothing. You keep on saying that she is like this underdog, but it's just proving otherwise. She has no
Yeah.
training. She keeps on, getting to these force things that no one knows how she got, and her thing is a big mystery. And then we found out what it is. It was like, oh, that was it. And
Yeah.
then Kylo Ren, he did something that Vader never did. He was not a slave for Palpatine. Basically, he killed Snoke, right? And what did he do right after he killed him? It's kind of like, man, I'm my own guy now. He's barking orders, and this General Hux is repeating his orders, and they made a comedic relief out of it. He was just like,
Yeah.
shoot him. And then Hux was like, shoot him. And then he looked at him and was just like, dude, you're supposed to be a badass now. You just had your moment. Now you're back to being a loser again. No wonder it was like by looking at this, it was like Rey beats you. Now General Hux is making fun of you. You went down, and now Luke Skywalker made a fool out of you again. It's like, how are we supposed to take you seriously? It was like, how? It was like, put your mask back on.
Yeah.
But reassemble it.
Yeah, and the thing is that like okay, and that's another thing. Like they break his helmet and then they put it. It's just like so. It's like I feel like we were in the midst of like a battle between Ryan Johnson and J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, definitely.
Like you've like as a fan and as a viewer, you're like what's going on? Like you're being bounced
It's like a
back and forth.
divorce. It's like your
Exactly.
parents being in a divorce.
Exactly, and you're like, what's going on here? Like this is again, Dave Filoni has is the I don't know what's his title, like I forgot, but
Executive
creative producer,
creative director, something like that. Yeah.
yeah. So again, everything's gonna. I'm telling you guys, I'm making this prediction right now. This Ahsoka show is going to change everything. It's going to make us like the sequels a little bit better, or a little bit more, and it's going to kind of make. I'm telling you, it's going to wrap everything up in a nice little bow, so we can move on from the Skywalker saga. You know, because I think
Really?
we're.
So it's going to tie in, you think?
I
I
think
don't
so.
You think so?
I think so.
The only way you can present right now is to make it, like with this one, we're waiting for the old cast. Who's like, oh, they're the masters now. They're older. Are you really going to say that to Ray? It was like, oh, we're going to meet the master Jedi. And then you see
Right.
Ray. Like, I think it's too soon. Like, people just still remember this. And we're like, what? This is
Well,
it?
and when is the Ahsoka show taking place, BJ? Is it going to be like near the sequel
Well,
trilogy?
I think so. I think this is where basically again, I Rebels. In Rebels, the show Rebels, they touched upon the world between worlds. The world between worlds is like it's almost like creating like alternate realities and alternate universes and stuff like that. That's I don't know if that's the best way to explain it, but Ahsoka's title, if you look at it, is the world between worlds. There's a connection behind that, and from what I'm assuming they're trying to do is that see right now you have this line like 6, 7, 8, 9. So this world between worlds is supposed to like happen around like the Mandalorian's timeline, right? Like Ahsoka is looking for Thrawn, so who knows? Thrawn might be trying to get in touch, like trying to access the world between worlds again. Because if you have that, if you have access to that, you could change anything. So again, this is like it's almost gonna like kind of like it's gonna create this timeline where it's going to loop back to Return of the Jedi, and it's just gonna like it's gonna keep everything intact with the Return of the Jedi. Now, if you want to continue and say 7, 8, 9 is part of your timeline, you can't. It's almost like giving the fans like, all fans like a closure with the Skywalker saga. If you want to continue on and say Episode 9 is the end of the Skywalker saga, you can. If you want to go and follow the Ahsoka show and like where it loops back around to the Return of the Jedi, then you can. It's almost like everyone's eating their cake and at the same. I don't know.
Eating
I
cake
think
and
that
having it too. Yeah.
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 But
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think that like Dave Filoni can fix all this. It's just a matter of time. I just think that there's so many flaws, and it's not because of. I think it's just the lack of the story, the lack of consistency, and the fact that you have two directors literally fighting against each other about the direction of this sequel trilogy. You know, it, you have Ryan Johnson. I mean, J.J. Abrams that set it up for Ryan Johnson. Ryan Johnson undid everything that J.J. Abrams set up for him, right? And then now you have J.J. Abrams trying to fix everything Ryan Johnson undid. You know what I'm saying? Like with Kylo Ren's helmet. Okay, putting it back together. That's almost like representation for the Rise of Skywalker movie. It's almost like you're trying to fix everything that was broken in the Last Jedi. And I don't want to go in. I'm sure we'll talk about other, more things. But
Yeah.
for me, it's just that like I tried to like this movie. I really did, because what's heartbreaking to me, and for also heartbreaking for my wife to see, is that when her and I left the movie theaters, and she goes and looks at me and says, "Did you like this movie?" Oh my gosh, that was like the most painful thing I had to say to my wife as a Star Wars fan. It's like, no, I didn't like this movie. And trust me, I've been through a lot. Like, I've been through the holiday Star Wars movies. I've been through the first Clone Wars movie. And if you watch that, that's painful. There's a lot of painful things. Attack of the Clones, it was painful, but I still found things to like about that movie. The acting. See, one thing with George Lucas, he's a good storyteller, but he sucks in screenplay, directing, and
Dialogue.
producing and a dialogue. But as a storyteller, master, one of a kind, ahead of his time. Why couldn't they just utilize him for the last trilogy? Is beyond me. I didn't like the direction of Luke Skywalker. I'm sure Mark Hamill had expressed that in a lot of interviews. I don't know. I just blame Kathleen Kennedy. I blame the investors. Maybe they put too much pressure on Kathleen Kennedy to put out movies because they want their money back. At the end of the day, I think the money had to deal with the demise of the sequel trilogy because they spent $4 billion on this on acquiring Star Wars, and the investors wanted their money back as soon as possible. Because if time wasn't a factor, then they would have taken their time outlining like the future of Star Wars, like they're doing now, right? They're trying to come up with all these movies that connect with each other. I just think they didn't have that. They think they just rushed into things. Well, they did have that. They thought they could rely on George Lucas's vision of 7, 8, 9, but then they read it. They were like, well, your prequels kind of suck. People didn't like it. That's why we're going to go a different direction. Well, midichlorians, we don't want to. People are not going to want to hear about that. But yet again, here we are in The Mandalorian, and they're introducing the freaking midichlorians. Right?
Yeah.
They're after Grogu and all these things to clone Palpatine. I don't know. Anyway, I'm sorry, guys. I could go. I could go. Seriously, I could go for 2 hours about the Last Jedi and the sequel trilogy.
Can you
But
summarize that again, PJ?
Give us the cliff notes.
oh my
Do you like
goodness.
the movie or not?
Like, what would you rate it, PJ?
Okay, as a movie, I give it a 7.5 and 8. As
Okay.
a Star Wars movie, I give it like a 4.
Okay, because that's going to be our next topic. So,
Sorry.
but real quick, no, I just want to. I'll give my thoughts briefly on this. Like, I think I'm with you guys. Like, it's funny. Like, I feel like the more I watch this film, the less I like it. It's like when I saw it in the theaters originally, I remember reviewing it and I gave it a 9. And I'm a huge fan of The Force Awakens, right? So like. I gave it a 9, but I feel like every subsequent watch, I like it less. And it's because I'm seeing things that I don't like. And I think what it was like my first viewing of it, I think, and we've all kind of fallen victim to this in one way or another. We want to like something so badly. And like, we're so hyped for it and we're in the mood for like a Star Wars film or Marvel, whatever. And you go in and you're like, man, like I enjoyed that. Like you're finding reasons to like it. You know what I mean? And that can happen sometimes. It happens to all of us, even if we're reviewing films or not. Like we all do it. And then the more time you have to sit with it, and you guys know me pretty well. I'm not as influenced by other people's opinion. Like if other people don't like something, that's fine, but it's not really going to influence how I feel about it. So
Absolutely.
like,
But you got a weird taste though.
Well, I mean, we
best
got a taste of it with 300.
Yeah, so that's
guys,
really
we got to
questionable.
give up this 300 thing. It's not as good as you guys think it is.
You also
Is it-
like
We should do that as a video.
Frozen. So
Yeah, Frozen is good.
Another-
Not Frozen 2 though. Frozen 1. It's
It
all the
doesn't
Frozen.
matter if it's
By the way,
one.
those Iron Studios pieces were life size, PJ. So I don't think they're like selling those.
What
I don't
the
need
hell?
one of those. Yeah, they were like life size, made for like an event or something.
Oh, okay.
they're
but
made out of
any-
air or what?
I don't know. Who knows? They probably are. PJ
Well,
probably get one then.
No.
But yeah, so like I do think there are things that are good about this movie. Like if I were gonna rate it now, I'm around where PJ's at. I'm like a 7.5 and 8. Like I think it's good, but there are definitely a lot of things I feel like they just did wrong. And I was funny before you guys arrived. I was talking to Lael before the show started, and like PJ for Ahsoka. For me, it always comes back to Last of Us, right? Like if I was as connected to Luke Skywalker as I was to Joel, I'd probably be pretty pissed at this movie. Because I feel like there's a lot of Star Wars fans. Like I'm a different type of Star Wars fan. Force Awakens is what made me a huge Star Wars fan, right? So I was different. I didn't have that connection to Luke like everyone else did, right? So if I did, and I had seen the original films before, and I even watched them before I went to see Last Jedi, so I loved Luke, but it's not like I was like, oh my God, Luke is like my favorite character ever. So like the way they did him in the film, I wasn't in agreement with it. It didn't seem like it was consistent with his character, but it wasn't like, it didn't like shatter my universe. You know what I mean? Like, but I think like, for example, like the way they do Joel in Last of Us 2, like he feels like a different person. And I feel like after watching the original trilogy and watching Luke in this film, he feels like he is a different person. Like, and I get evolution, change, growth, or lack of growth. He's like regressing to backwards in this film. I feel like that all makes sense, but like they have to show a little bit more to justify that. I think Luke feels like a total 180 to everything else you've ever seen him be in. So, I mean, And people aren't just going to accept that. You have to, like, if you're going to pull that type of stunt, you really have to go way overboard to make people believe it. And I just don't think they did that. I don't think they proved Luke's change. And the fact, and I was with you guys. Like, I was so, like, everyone was so hyped for this movie when it was coming out. And when Luke throws a saber over his shoulder, I was like, man, that was not as satisfying as I thought it would be over the last 3 years. Like, I was like, that's not at all what I wanted. And I think Rian Johnson, his approach with this film was, I'm going to shock you at every turn, no matter the cost. And that's what he did. He did the opposite of what you think he would do.
Yeah, but I think he almost did it too much.
He did it to the detriment of the film, no doubt.
Yeah.
Like, he did it to be unexpected. He obviously literally took JJ's script from the first one and said, I don't want to do any of that. I'm going to do the opposite of what you did. And the problem is, like, if that had been the first film in the trilogy, I feel like people still would be mad about it, but definitely not as mad, because the expectation was so different going into that film because of what The Force Awakens set up. And I totally hear what you guys are saying about George's treatments and what he wanted for the sequel trilogy, but all of us liked The Force Awakens. Like, The Force Awakens was good, and it set something good up. So, like, I feel like the problem was it didn't stick the landing in the second film. And then the third film I still like the third film for what it is, but it became a mess just because of the lack of consistency and organization. But The Force Awakens laid a good foundation, I feel like.
Well, let me ask you this, though, right? I mean, like, okay, so who's the main writer for The Last of Us?
It was Neil Druckmann who wrote the first and second one, but then Bruce Straley was overseeing the creative direction with him in the first one, which is why the first one's good and the second one's not. So
so what happens if I'm just trying to pick up I'm trying to use something that you love as an example.
Yeah.
Because it's just almost like, why wouldn't you want to come from the person that created
you
Star
want
Wars?
consistency, but it doesn't always work out that way, because Neil Druckmann had a large part in writing the first one, and look what he did with the second one when he had free reign. So
yeah, but the thing is, it's not like, okay, so we're talking about like almost like 6 films in, right? It was not like the second movie, this is like 6 films in, or 7 films, or 6 films in, and you're just gonna say, like, yeah, we're not gonna go that direction, even though you wrote 7, 8, 9. For me, as a fan, like, I want to know what was his vision for 7, 8, 9 to wrap up, because it was basically, he had 9 films planned, 9 movies,
right?
And you just kind of want to know, like, what really would happen to Luke, to Leia, to Han, and everyone else at the end of that movie.
I feel like this Last Jedi, because of the success of The Force Awakens, this Force Awakens is really safe. It's like a really feel-good Star Wars movie. And it is I think at the one point, it's the highest grossing movie of all time. Mm-hmm. So in this case, they were like, but let's be honest, like, no one would give Star Wars any awards, right? Like, they're not going to win any Academy or anything. It's more for like, but I think on this one, they were like, you know what, we made it. Let's be a little bit edgy here,
right?
Let's try to be, like the Dark Knight.
Let's try to be Oscar bait.
It's gonna be, let's try that, and it just hit, it just missed.
Well, the critics loved it, so it worked in that sense. I mean, the critics gave it amazing reviews, and that's why everyone was so distraught, because like the early reviews came out and had like a 96%, and then people saw it and they were like, "This is a dog turd."
And you can make that turn from Luke Skywalker if you want to make him a dark person, but explain it to us. Not he wants to kill his nephew in his sleep that grew up with him. He didn't kill his dad. That killed a gazillion people.
He just doesn't seem in character.
Without
a justification.
I think what would have made Luke Skywalker's journey and his turn more believable, or made the character's journey at this point, like, I would have appreciated the attempt with Luke had they not killed him off in this film. And if he would have made some type of, if you want to kill him off, make, Rise of Skywalker should have been a crescendo. You use his name, you use Skywalker name, having him make a sacrifice in that film would have been more warranted, and having him come back realizing that, his time away from the Force, his time stepping away was a terrible mistake, and that he had to come back, even if they would have basically had him not die in this film, and we show the opening scene of him training, Rey, in the Rise of Skywalker. We can see that training. We can see that, if they would have followed that treatment, because the thing is, that's what made me not really believe and gave it a hard time for me to kind of follow the journey, was you kill him off and then you have you have Leia continuing her training in the Rise of Skywalker, when we never even saw a connection between Luke, or even a story between Luke and Leia, in regards to training, and anything was mentioned of that magnitude. Nothing was. We saw a hint of her using the Force in Rise of Skywalker. I mean, the Last Jedi, but that transition just made no sense to the next film. If they would have just not killed Luke off and expanded him to the next film, then to me, it'd have been like, okay, cool. I can understand where they were going, and at least we know that Luke's going to get somewhat of a redemption story. I think they tried to squeeze too much into one film. Like, you see basically his downfall, but it wasn't really fully explained. Then him coming back the same day as a Force projection for a brief moment, thinking that was going to change things. It was a sacrifice for absolutely nothing, because it did nothing for Kylo.
Yeah.
He already had an ulterior motive. He was going to follow through with what he wanted to. So Luke's sacrifice in this film was not warranted at all. So that, to me, like, no matter how much you shake it, like, I can't. That was an unforgivable curse to me when they did what they did to Luke. After what we did, like, I saw somebody here who said that they were a Star Wars fan since 1977. Me too. I'm right there with you. I was a fan since 1977. I went to see New Hope in a theater. You know what I mean? To see these characters, and the demise of these characters. I mean, rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. There was nothing that could have been done with her, in Episode 9. But Luke had potential. Mark Hamill's still alive. So to basically kill him off in that movie and I understand why he was pissed. I understand why the conversations about Luke Skywalker to him puts a bitter taste in his mouth. It's because of what was done to him. And I think that I wouldn't forgive if I was Mark Hamill, I would not forgive them, especially for the long journey I went through with all these other films. For you to do this, nah, I could never forgive you for what you've actually done. Like, especially that. And it's like, you know what? Ryan Johnson dipped in and said, hey, I got my money, and he's out. Like, that's just the way it feels. You know what I mean? It's like, to be quite honest, yeah, he did Knives Out, and I enjoyed the film, but I watched it once, and I never watched it again. And it's because of my distaste for Ryan Johnson, because I think that he just really didn't care about the fans. And he really said it, like, he really didn't care about the fans. I make art. I don't make films to cater to other people's feelings. What's that say? You don't give a shit about your fans. So
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what? To piggyback off of that, even Kathleen Kennedy even said, "We don't care about the hardcore fans. Like, we're not catering to you. We want to get new fans." Yeah. But why does Marvel do it so well? Why does
Mandalorian did it too.
Yeah, but I'm saying like Mandalorian wasn't even around
no,
as.
yeah, but they
I'm
did
saying
the
like,
formula.
but why isolate your fan base? We don't care about the hardcore fans or the people that love Star Wars since 1977. We care about the future Star Wars fans like Will and people that are just getting into it now. No, they did. That's basically what they were saying.
Right. Yeah.
So how does as a fan, like Leia as a fan from 1977, and as a fan like me, I've been a fan since 1987. How does that make me feel? How does that make me even feel about Star? That's why for me, like when I first started my channel, it was around the time the Last Jedi came out, and let me tell you, I was in a dark place with Star Wars just because I just had that bitter taste in my mouth about the Last Jedi, and it showed with the merchandise. It showed with them. No one was buying anything.
Yeah, it's true.
It's true. So now, why is it that now you see the Mandalorian doing so well, capturing all fans, casual and hardcore? Why I don't understand the thinking of Kathleen Kennedy. That's why I dislike that thinking. You
It
know?
might not be her because, like, if I think because of this Last Jedi, it tainted the first movie. Had this not been like this, let's say they played it safe, I think we would have a different tone right now. I mean, the first one was good. It's not as bad as this. It still
Yeah.
did made me a Kylo or Rey fan because that's my main purpose here. Like when I watch this, I don't like I have no attachment. I've seen Luke Skywalker and really didn't really got into it. I wasn't planning to get into them with this movie, but I want to get into Star Wars. Like I'm really finding a reason, and I was hoping would be my Vader, this Kylo, and he just wasn't. Like he's just like
Yeah.
I was hoping Rey would be my gateway to Star Wars, and she still wasn't, and that's the disappointing part to me because I never really felt that. Like if you're a kid that's growing up now, maybe because there's school fight scenes. When we're kids, we watch RoboCop. It's pretty cool. Watch it now; it doesn't make any sense. But maybe that's what they're going for. But the Last Jedi just didn't make sense. Like they should have
Yeah.
just played it safe, I think, and maybe our reaction is going to be different.
Yeah,
I just
I think. Well, I think. Sorry, PJ. I think they were like, they heard the reaction to the Force Awakens from some critics. Most people loved it, but a lot of people said it was very safe. So I think what they did was like, let's try not safe, and it just blew up in everyone's face. They did the opposite of what they did with the Force Awakens, and I think that was almost intentional. It was definitely intentional on the part of Ryan Johnson. I'm not sure if it was intentional on the part of Kathleen Kennedy, but I think you're right, Optical. I think they very much had the mindset of let's try to pull a Dark Knight. Like, let's try to make a Dark Knight Star Wars film. You know what I mean? Like a darker, more gritty,
Yeah.
like Oscar bait Star Wars film. And it just backfired tremendously.
see the thing is I would agree with you guys about it being darker, but then you get the Canto Bite scene and you're like, what the
True. I think that was probably studio influence saying, like, we need to at least make this kind of.
There's so many jokes in there. Like the first scene where Poe was just like, I feel like I was watching Guardians of the Galaxy. It was like,
Where he was talking to Hux.
General
Yeah.
Hux. And it was funny. And then it kind of rolled over and over and over. Sometimes it's not appropriate in the scene.
Yeah.
It was like, dude, come on.
And I want to talk some
Definitely.
positives about this movie. I mean, granted, it's a visually stunning movie, and I think that's why the critics love this movie because it hit everything on their checklist, right? Cinematography, directing, there's Mark Hamill's acting, even though he disagreed with the direction of the movie. He was really good, But as a Star Wars movie, you have to think the essence of Star Wars, right? It's gonna be corny. It's gonna have like really kooky and stupid alien looking creatures. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna have that Star Wars essence. This one is a sci-fi movie. It's a good sci-fi movie. I'm not even considering it as a Star Wars movie. And
I don't know.
think Ryan
PJ. I watched this not as a Star Wars fan. I didn't find the cinematography. I mean, it's better than the previous Star Wars because it was
Yeah.
shot in 1970s.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things in here that just
I don't think this is a good looking film at all, personally.
Yeah,
I
like
mean,
the dialogue.
It's very muted color palette. Like Force Awakens is way more colorful and better to look at. Last Jedi is just very, like I said, they went for Dark Knight, like you said, Optical. That's exactly what they did.
and
Yeah.
there was a scene where Ray was talking to when he first met Luke, and she was just like, "Where you came from? Nothing." And it was a serious scene, and they were just like, "No one came from nowhere." And she was like, "Oh, wherever she came from." She was like, "Yeah, that's pretty much nowhere." It's like, dude, you're just ruining this entire. It's like,
Yeah,
what
it's
the
all
heck
over
is
the
going
place.
on here? It was like, are
Yeah.
you going for a dark scene or what the heck? It was, I don't know.
Yeah, but again, always goes back to is that like and again, even if they played it safe, the fact that they don't have like a plan is going to come out. It's going to come out. It's what I'm saying. At least okay with the prequels and the original trilogy, there was a plan. There was a plan. It was coming straight from the horse's mouth, from the creator. But everything was, even though the dialogue and the directing and the screenplay kind of sucks and the producing, and there's some like really awkward moments in episode 2, but at the same time you could like honestly say that it's a cohesive storyline. If you just take out all those parts, those boring parts, and try to watch it as a whole, you enjoy the story and what the story that is trying to tell you, and how One person dismantled the Jedi, right? And brought down the Republic. One Sith Lord. Not only that, he was basically everybody's like, in everyone's minds. Like he was in Yoda's head, like trying to like manipulate him. He manipulated the whole Jedi Order, which is crazy. Like the downfall of Anakin. All that is a nice cohesive story. Now we get the opposite with the sequel trilogy, where you got visually. I mean, I know you guys are saying it's not really visual, but I'm just giving it like some benefit of the doubt. Like, okay, it's visually better than the previous movies.
Yeah.
You got really good directors. I mean, I love Looper. Looper was a good
Looper
movie.
was good.
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams, he's one of the well-known directors in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
You got all the resources that George didn't have when he was making the prequels, and now it's just they didn't have the story. If you don't have a story, and it showed with the Game of Thrones, season 7 and 8,
Yeah.
they had to rush that because they had no story. They didn't have any source material.
Right.
So they were just like, George R.R. Martin told us the ending and where it's supposed to go, so we just have to fill in the
We're
blanks.
gonna rush there. I like season 7, but you're right. Season 8, it all falls apart.
Yeah, I mean the action was great, but again, the
Yeah, but
story
that's
was
it.
not there. Again, story is everything. Story is everything, in my opinion.
Also, if they don't want to do a dark turn, I mean, there's so many ways to do that. Not by killing. I mean, I don't really care if they killed Mark Hamill or not, but make Ray a dark. Like make Finn do a double turn.
That would have been cool. Or make
Yeah,
Ray
oh,
Dark
dude.
Ray.
Story.
Dark Side
Double
Ray.
turn.
That would have been a cool turn, actually.
Yeah, with Finn, he's already in the Republic, and then let's say Kylo bribed him to get more intel, and then he came back to and that would made Finn more compelling, like as
More drama.
just do a double turn. He's like a double agent now, but
That would have been a cool turn.
yeah, and then he can have his own show, and because there's so much. The thing with it that sucks is there's so much potential that he left on the table leading into this one, and that's all gone. Like Poe could have been someone, like he could be the next Han Solo, but that was not. He got the wits, he got the fast talking kind of thing, but now he just looks like a whatever guy, and there's a lot of wasted opportunity there.
Well, let me ask you guys: when you're telling a story, right? When you're writing a story, an essay, right? What is like the three main parts? Beginning, the middle,
Intro,
and
body,
end,
conclusion.
right? What's the body usually introducing?
That's the meat of the story.
Yeah, you gotta have conflict.
Thank you.
Resolution.
Now, if you-
Conflict, yeah, and then the
Resolution.
resolution near the end, yeah.
Then the conclusion. Yeah. So
Yep, and then
So if
let's
you- if
wind
you-
everything down.
Yeah. Now, if you destroy the middle, what ends up happening?
the middle was the casino scene.
Yeah, you could literally take Canto Bite out of this movie entirely.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's like 40. Like I was counting. You guys know, I was watching it earlier. I was dreading that.
Was it 40 minutes?
It was like almost like 38 minutes. I was just like,
Yeah.
God,
Cut it. Cut it all.
cut it down, and it's 2.5 hours of.
Yeah.
And then the most, like I said, the best scene was towards the end when Luke came out, and I'm not saying because I'm a Luke fanboy. It's just that's the only really meat that you can get out of it. Most are
Yeah.
just talking, and that's it.
Canto Bite
you
is
know-
awful. Everyone, I think, agrees with that.
But on a positive note, everything happens for a reason, and I feel like maybe the Last Jedi needed to happen, because if it didn't happen, maybe would we have still gotten the Mandalorian? You know what I'm saying? Like, what would happen if things went well with the sequel trilogy? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
sure.
I think everything happens for a reason, and now Star Wars is in a great place. It was a really dark time. I mean, with Last Jedi, arguing with people online and having discussions and stuff like that. It took a lot of energy. But I'm a very passionate Star Wars fan, as you could tell, and I really wanted to defend my views on like what I thought about the sequel trilogy. And the number one thing I always say is that I'm very jealous for the people that love the sequel trilogy, because you are loving Star Wars, a part of Star Wars that I'm not liking. I hate to say I dislike a Star Wars movie. I hate to say it. It's really just like,
Yeah, no, I get it. You really
It's-
want
it's
to love
heartbreaking.
it. Like I said, it was the same for me with Last of Us 2, right? Like I wanted to love that game more than anything, and I just didn't. But like you guys can see from the banner here, like we talked about a little bit how does it feel as a Star Wars film and as a sequel. So, Leao, I kind of want to get your thoughts on this. Do you think the problem is this doesn't feel like Star Wars, or is the problem that it's just a bad sequel, or both?
Like I said, I mean, when we were introduced to Force Awakens, it felt like a Star Wars film to me.
Yeah.
Just the pacing, just where they basically went with it, and I was looking forward to it, even from the trailer. Like when we first got the trailers for the Force Awakens, they were brilliant. Masterfully made. The character introduction, and from what we actually saw with Finn's character, I was really thinking that, like, okay, he's going to be, we're following his hero's journey. That's what I would have actually wanted to see. Even if you wanted to make, Rey a Jedi, down the road, the person who the perfect introductory to a hero's journey, and who would have been the best conduit to being an actual Jedi would have been Finn. You know what I mean? He was trained, basically within the Empire, trained to be an actual soldier. So he was already trained. Even if you read some of the backstory on him, he was at the top of his class. He was a great, leader. You know what I mean? Would be general at that particular point. And to the Force itself awakened in him. We saw that, you know what I mean? So I thought that he was, very instrumental in that first film. So it gave us hope, at that point that, even though I know they say it harkens back to like New Hope, as a film, I let all that pass because, like I said, I thought that it was well done, and it actually re-sparked my and reinvigorated my excitement for Star Wars. Going into The Last Jedi, it was like, we were promised that there would be like a fitting film. Like we were promised that it would be good. We saw the trailer, and I can honestly say, when seeing the trailer for the very first time, in Orlando, at Celebration, I was like, okay, it's different. It's real different. I can, see where they're going. It was different. And knowing at that particular time, I should have just thought like, well, wait a minute, like, okay. But I didn't, I was still rocking with it. You know what I mean? Because I was like, okay, cool. A trailer doesn't speak as many volumes as an actual film would. So I can't wait to see the film to draw my own conclusion. The film did not feel like a Star Wars film. The film felt like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm saying it for real. Like it felt like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It felt like a filler film. It felt like that there were basically other films that were in the works, but you just threw this one in there to kind of tie in with other films. You know what I mean? Just throwing it there as a standalone film. And that's the way it was kind of projected to me. Like it just didn't feel like something that was cohesive. You know what I mean? It was very, very disjointed, so I have to place it, it's hard because when I look at, I can't look at Force Awakens and say that it's part of a bad sequel, because I think it was a good introductory film. I just think the next two films weren't great. I think that next film coming out of The Force Awakens wasn't good. And that's what kind of navigated the ship in the wrong direction. But I still genuinely love The Force Awakens. I like The Force Awakens. I really, really do. Regardless of, anything, it was the first introduction to Kylo. We did, get like that Star Wars type of feel. I did enjoy the film. It was just that the next two films weren't really great. So it's hard to say that, it's a terrible sequel. I just think that the next two films to me did not feel like a Star Wars film at all. Like it just took everything away from me as a fan, of what I actually wanted. I appreciated the characters. I didn't like what they did to Rose. I didn't like what they did with Finn. All those things played out in that film. The way they did it for anybody. And the thing is, it's like they did exactly what they wanted to do. They catered to new fans. They didn't cater to fans that have rode this ship for the longest time. They catered to new fans. But the big thing about that is, I think it kind of, as the attempt, I think it went against them in a sense. It kind of backfired because there were a lot of new fans that were like, it was a good film, and stepped away from it and forgot it. You know what I mean? Because it didn't live up to what they basically thought was that actual hype. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think that even now, I say that Star Wars is in a place. I'm not going to even go on the lines to say that Star Wars right now is still in a good place. I'm going to say that it's promising and it's moving forward and there's opportunity. But basically, you have to keep in mind the cinematic universe is different from a Disney Plus show. You can get another film from the cinematic universe that'll put a bad taste in somebody's mouth, and they'll say, look, it's terrible. Star Wars is terrible. It's still bad. So the thing is, the only way to prove to me that Star Wars is in a good place is to give me a good trilogy. Write something that's going to be decent. Write something that's going to be memorable, and give the fans exactly what they want, is a good narrative, cohesive story. Because regardless, and I say this to Tom Blue in the face, regardless of what people say about the prequels, they were cohesive. Mm-hmm. Regardless of what people want to say about the dialogue, it was still cohesive. You had one story that moved on to the next, with a fitting ending to me with the Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, I really like Revenge of the Sith. Yeah,
exactly. So you can say what the hell you want about the prequels, it was still cohesive. What we got with these other films, again, $4.5 billion to basically buy that. Disney was like, yo, yeah, we need our money back. So basically, let's just rush these films. You got to put those out, regardless. And I'm not going to actually even say that a lot of the backfire rides on Kathleen Kennedy. I'm not going to basically blame her. I'm not going to blame just her, because the thing is, she has to make decisions. Those decisions don't really come just from her. Yeah. You know what I mean? They don't come from her, because basically from her head, she's still in production. She's like a producer still. That's what did Steven Spielberg say? She's one of the greatest producers of all time. And I actually stand by that. She is one of the greatest producers of all times, but she's not the right person to ride that ship, because like I said, there's not enough that she basically knew about Star Wars to give that pushback to say, hey, I don't think this is right. And she should have, you know what I mean? But she didn't. But I'm not going to basically put that all on her shoulders, because there's other execs who just write the checks and they want to see something. They want to see a residual gain at that particular point. They want to see a return. That's all it's basically about. So yes, Star Wars is in a pretty much almost a comfortable space, but to say that it's in a good place right now, I have to see what these next films are going to actually do. I have to see what this Rogue Squadron is going to do. I have to see what's going to actually happen in these other so-called films, these unannounced Star Wars films that are coming. I have to see how that's going to work. Give me something from the cinematic standpoint that's going to be pretty good, because, yeah, we can get a Disney Plus film. We got, now mind you, all we got from the Star Wars universe right now is The Mandalorian, and then we got The Bad Batch. And right now, with the last episode of Bad Batch, they're on like this slow turn. They're not really like, what's going on with it? Like, come on, like pick up a little bit, pick up the pace.
Yeah, I heard people are kind of disappointed with it a little bit.
Like pick up the pace, because I went back and watched it and I'm like, hold up, what is really going on? Like, come on, man. Like, it's too almost emotional Philly to me. There's nothing really, whatever. But I'm hoping that this next episode will kind of turn that around. We only got one, main, which was The Mandalorian, which was successful. For all we know, the Book of Boba could be terrible. I'm just saying, as much as I want it to be good, it could be terrible. And then we'll be having this discussion again. That's what I'm saying. Like, right now, I'm optimistic about it, but, I'm just going to wait and see. But getting back to this particular film, or this trilogy in itself, or the sequels, I'm just going to say that this was a bad film. It was a horrible film, but I'm not going to basically say that, in my opinion, I'm not going to say it's going to affect the way I feel about The Force Awakens, because I'm just going to keep The Force Awakens separate from these two films. That's the way I'm doing it. I'm going to hold on to the simple fact of the feeling that I got from Force Awakens when I walked in that theater. Bringing Star Wars back to the way I felt about it years ago. Just the sheer excitement of going into these theaters, sitting down with my friends, eating popcorn, visually watching this on screen, coming out having a conversation. Rey at that particular time, it was an interest just to see where she could go, the potential that she had as a character, thinking that Finn was going to have a better narrative. You know what I mean? Instead of just screaming Rey for the next 2 effing films. You know what I mean? Like straight up, like I thought it would have been better, but we didn't get that. So the only hope that I can hold on to is the simple fact that Dave Filoni can come back and possibly fix some things. He can't fix the trilogy because the sequels, because they're already there, and that's never going to be wiped away. That's there, but he can make some sense of certain things. So that's. And, saying all of that, and anybody who's listening, who's a Star Wars fan, who actually liked these films, I don't want to take it away from you, but you have to understand that people who have actually been around since 1977, we wanted something. We wanted the whole, these films are sacred to us. These characters, Han, Luke, Leia, Chewie, R2, C-3PO, Lando Calrissian. These characters are basically sacred to us because we've watched them for years. They've been a part of us. And to shoehorn them into these particular films and treat them the way they did, bro, we didn't get a chance to see R2 do anything. R2, bro, we're talking about R2-D2 was very instrumental in the prequels. He was also instrumental in 4, 5, and 6. They treated him so wrong as a character in his films, bro. Like, it was terrible what they did to him. To bring in Dio and BB-8, like, come on, man. Like seriously, like it was a disrespect to classic characters, bro. What they did to classic characters, and then to not really have that camaraderie between them, it just made absolutely no sense at all. And the only time that Luke had any type of, conversation with Leia was through a force projection. Come on, man. Like, what are you doing? Like, seriously, like, and the thing is like, I didn't think having this conversation was going to put me back in that moment, but it's like a bad breakup, bro. It is. It's like a bad breakup. It's like basically, just going through your drawers. You going through like your dresser drawer, and you find your one of your girl's pair of panties. And you're like, man, why does she leave these here? Like, why are they here? Let me go burn them. Yeah, like, that's just the way it feels, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I mean, hopefully, I hope going forward that I can, that Star Wars, it's in a good place. It's in a comfortable place. But I want it to be in a great place because that's what we deserve. That's what we deserve as fans. That's all I'm saying.
I agree. I mean, you want it to be like MCU, like, feel. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I think Mando's getting us on that track.
I think
like
so
Book
too.
of Boba and then Ahsoka. It's setting up all these other pieces of content that people are really excited for.
Will,
yeah.
What's up?
Can you highlight Freddie's comment there real quick?
This one?
Yeah. Is it the same for Clone Wars?
Oh my god! I didn't even see that optical until now. Yeah, guys, we'll do a brief little tangent. Like, I agree with the optical. Like, I'm struggling to get through season 1 of Clone Wars. I know it gets better. Everyone tells me it gets better, and I've seen some scenes, but season 1 is very much kiddie to me. Like, it feels like a kid show.
Let's be honest, it's made for kids.
Yeah. I think season 1 is. See, PJ's face, he's just like,
doing this.
Why did I join this? But I know PJ, I think maybe you would agree even season 1 is like that, but it gets where it's not made for kids, right? I think they realize their target audience.
Yeah, Rebels is a perfect example of that. Like, when you watch Rebels, like the first 6, 7, 8 episodes, you're like, man, this is for kids, right? You're like, okay, right. What's going on? But then once they introduce Vader and people start dying, then you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
I mean, okay,
she's not hot. You gotta love her for her personality. Yeah, I ain't
and,
got.
That's what it is.
And the thing is, let me go back. Let's go back to Freddy's comment here. So, not to single Freddy out, but in one of the episodes, they had like almost like, remember, Leia? They like annihilated like a group of rebels.
Yeah,
Like they
that,
like
that wasn't for
assassin.
kids.
That
They
wasn't
did
for kids.
that was one of the darkest and one of the best episodes to me. You know what I mean? But it's just like now, like I mean, what is her name? Omega? What's her name? Omega? Is that her name?
Omega.
Or
Yeah,
yeah,
Omega.
it's like we're focusing on this banter and this fatherly type, father and daughter type relationship between her and Hunter, and it's like taken away from everything else. Like I don't like if you're trying to tie everything else. I mean, I don't know. Like I'm really not even, and I'm just being from as a Star Wars fan. I'm not even excited to wake up on Friday morning and watch it. Like I can just
It's just
watch
not
it when I
getting
want to, because it's just not grabbing me right now because it's just really really slow. Like it's real
That's
slow.
how it
So
was
I
with
guess
WandaVision
it's
first three
it's
episodes.
going to pick up, and I know it will. But it's like, come on, man, give us if it does the same thing that it's going to do for me, that it did for me last Friday, man, then I'm not watching the next episode after that, and I'll just wait. I'll just wait for a couple episodes. If somebody say it's getting good, then I'll go back and watch it because that's
Yeah.
what I want. Like, come on, man, like it's y'all got to pick up the pace a tad bit.
Optical, that's
Really.
what I was saying too. Remember we were watching WandaVision live. You watched
Yeah.
it later on, but like his first three episodes, but I was the same way. I'm like, I love Marvel so much, but these first three episodes, I just don't care.
Let me
I
ask
was like-
Lael though, because like I heard it's 16 episodes. Would you rather have it be like 10 episodes and be all exciting than have all these filler episodes?
Which one? Which one's
Like the Bad Batch? Because I heard it's like 16 episodes. Would
Yeah,
you,
it is.
Would you rather
I
have
would-
like just 10?
I would rather have 10 episodes, but see, the thing is, the only thing that's holding me together, bro, is that I believe in Dave Filoni. I believe in Dave Filoni, and I believe that there's a method to his madness, and that there's going to be a reveal, and there's something that we're supposed to watch, with these films. Would it make it if you want to bring me in, give me an episode with Vader, and I'm back on board with you. Give me one episode with Vader, and I'm back on board with you for a second. But you got to and look, and I know it's a slow build and stuff like that, but come on, man, like seriously, like enough with the emotional whatever or connection and all that, and him trying to be a father figure and the whole sentimental. Enough with that. I mean, we are seeing signs of what's his name? We're seeing signs that basically that inhibitor chip in his head is just kind of messing with him a bit. What's his name?
Wrecker.
Wrecker. We're starting to basically see that. So I'm hoping they kind of expand on that. But come on, man, like they gotta pick up the pace a bit.
Well, number one, let's save this for a cast. That's good. No,
No, you guys can,
Number
because you don't have to spoil anything because I haven't
No,
seen it.
we'll save it. We'll save it.
number two, Lael. I like the last episode just because you guys know how much I love the Rancor. So they kind of revealed the name of possibly one, the Rancor from Return of the Jedi, because his name is Moochie.
God damn, he has a name.
Moochie. See, Optical, this is what we're missing. This is what we're missing here.
Come on, man.
No, I'm gonna watch it at some point. We're gonna get through Clone Wars. We're both gonna do it. Like,
No, I won't. I won't get.
Get through.
All right.
Nah, bro, like literally get through Clone Wars because it gets so good.
can I
bro.
just
It
skip the
does get
first
good.
season then?
No.
I went to the who was that? The bald lady, Ventress.
Oh,
Oh,
Ventress.
Asara's
Oh,
Ventress.
Yeah. And then they were like fighting on the bridge, and that was just like, let me eat some snacks. And that was it.
Let me eat some snacks and just turn this off.
Eat some popcorn.
Yeah. So yeah, PJ, maybe you'll have to convince us. You and Leia have to convince us to watch that one. But
I'd rather watch the extended edition of Lord of the Rings, and I haven't even seen
Oh
it.
my gosh.
And I love Lord.
isn't
of the
that 4 hours per film?
Maybe
It is. It is. I have the extended edition. It is 4
They
hours.
use that
Dude.
like DVD for torture in some countries.
What, Clone Wars?
That too. They make you sit down and have your
Did
eyes.
you watch Clone Wars? Right?
Yeah.
It's
No,
like what's it called?
They do that in Malaysia.
Clockwork Orange. Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, they do that in Malaysia. You're gonna watch Clone Wars.
The thing is, with the things with Lord of the Rings, right? Like I had the DVD extended edition, and it was 2 discs for the Fellowship of the Ring extended edition, right? And I'm like, damn, this is effing long, right? All right, so I got the Blu-ray, and I'm like, all right, well, Blu-ray has a lot more gigs storage, right? And I'm like, okay, it's gonna be 1 disc. No, it's still 2 discs.
High
I'm like,
resolution, baby. Four times.
I'm like, oh my
Yo, we
god.
gotta do a Lord of the Rings show at some point.
Hey man,
'cause-
Will, did you play Final Fantasy VII on PlayStation 1? That is
No,
gorgeous.
my brother did though. I always watched him
Gorgeous.
play it. I was younger at the time, so.
Yeah. You
But
gotta
dude,
put-
it was incredible. I used to always watch him do the chocobo racing, and then like all the other combat with Sephiroth, and like it. Yeah, it's so much crazier in the remake. I'm playing the remake again now, but
Yeah.
I know it's different. So, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you know, going back with Bad Batch, and I like Lael said, like I totally agree. Like you know, it's a little slow, and I get it. Like we got the point. There's like a connection between, you know, Hunter and Omega, right? So we get it, but I think, you know, it's time to move forward and let's get some action going. It's a little slow, and we shall see what ends up happening in the future episodes. But supposedly the ending of this show is going to make us cry, supposedly.
Well,
So
and Dave Filoni we trust, like you guys said. But like, so there's two more things I want to hit on tonight because I know we've covered a lot the territory, you know, over the show. But the first thing is we've talked about. I think we need to go in a little bit more detail about some of the good. I think because there is some good to this film. I feel like so. Like we've kind of briefly touched on those things, but I think like for me, just to kind of kickstart this, like the Praetorian fight. Yes, the choreography, when you slow it down and you watch it back on YouTube and stuff, there are issues. Like there are issues in terms of waiting for people to do their move. Like Lael said, they 100% CGI'd the knife out of the Praetorian guard's hand because he had Rey dead to rights. Like he literally had her and he had a knife on, like he could just jab her in the back. It's over. Like
It's done.
he had her. He literally pulled that move because he had her. And then they swapped that out because, and that's not the editing fault. That's not the fault of the editors. That's the fault of the choreographers who put a second knife in his hand. Maybe didn't knock it out beforehand. But there is a lot of waiting. Like, and there's just, when you slow it down and watch some of the moves, like Kylo does one move in the beginning where he takes a saber and jams it into the ground. Why? Like, there's no reason for him to do that. And then the Praetorian comes up and just hits the saber. Why would he go for the saber instead of hitting Kylo? You know what I mean? There's stuff like that when you really think about it. But in real time, you're not really going to notice those things.
You're not
You know what I
really
mean?
because you're so focused on. And the thing is, and like I
It's
said,
so
I mean,
fast.
and actually, like that whole scene, technically, Kylo was the one who kind of dispensed everybody. Rey didn't do too much. She didn't really do too much. If you
No.
think about it, she didn't do too much. I think she only took out like maybe what, one or two Praetorian guards, like 2 or 3 of them, I guess.
Yeah.
Kylo did. Kylo did a tad bit more though. I mean, Kylo had 3 at once. You know what I mean? 3 at once, and he was manhandling. You know what I mean? He was getting through. You know what I mean? So she was focused on one person whose knife got CGI'd out, but everybody else, Kylo was just going at him. So, but now I just think visually it was a decent. It was done visually well.
Yep, for sure.
You know, so I give it that.
Yeah, and I think I really love the part. I don't know how you guys feel about it. Where actually the Praetorian has the sword and he turns it into a whip. Like that was
Yeah, I
sick.
like that
Like,
one. Yeah,
that
that's
was
great.
really cool. He just like, whew, and it just turns into a whip, and like it was just like that was really cool. And like in the theater, I remember really loving that because I'm not thinking about the choreography and who's waiting for who, and like it just happening in real time. You're like, this is incredible. But again, when you watch, it's like this movie with so much of this movie. When you watch it back later, you see flaws, and it's just. But I do think there are some good things, like, you know, like the choreography and the fights. I do kind of like what they did with Kylo, like making him more so the head honcho. I hate what they did with Snoke. I didn't like it then. I don't like it now because I just feel like they set that up for a reason to be, you know, JJ set him up to be the big baddie of this trilogy, and Ryan was like, nah, I don't really like Snoke. Let's get rid of him. Like, I like Kylo more. So I do kind of, I almost like hate Snoke, what they did to him, but I also like kind of how Kylo took the lead because I think that did need to happen at some point. So, and Ryan Johnson kind of took the opportunity to do that. But I feel like that probably should have happened in the third film. Some point in the third film where Kylo kind of takes command as supreme leader. I do kind of like getting to see a little bit more of Adam Driver's performance instead of him being behind the helmet. I don't think he needed to destroy it. I think they could have found a way to mix it, kind of like they did with Rise of Skywalker. Like, he's in the helmet half the time, he's not in the helmet half the time. Like, it's balanced well. I feel like they could have done that. But I did kind of like having Kylo be a little more stand on his own in this film. And I like that. So I want to hear what you guys thought about just your pros of the film. There are some other things I'm sure I'm forgetting, but...
It was good.
The silence is deafening. There are no pros. None.
No, I mean, I like I said, I mean, the pros again. Like I said, I mean, I thought, just in the very beginning, like just that opening scene, just the way it was shot, just the
It
battle
was cool.
itself. I loved, because what was really decent was, the one bomber that was, if you look at all the ships around that one bomber, that was all the other ships were being destroyed. It was one bomber that was going in towards the dreadnought. You know what I mean? Like just that one bomber, and it's like visually when you see it from over the overhead, it was decent the way they did it and how they shot it. So I did like that.
But Leo,
There were,
I know, are we thinking about it too? Sorry to cut you off. Are we thinking about it too much? The bomb should not drop in space, right? 'Cause
yeah,
there's no gravity there.
there's
So
no, and
is
there's
that
no
one of those
sound.
things where
There's
we're
no,
overthinking it?
yeah, there's no sound. You know what I mean? So we shouldn't have heard anything that was actually going on at that particular time.
And they would
but
just float.
yeah, they would.
They
Yeah,
wouldn't drop.
they wouldn't basically drop. So, but I mean, this is cinematic.
Does that
You
make
know, what I
sense,
mean?
optical?
You know what I mean? But
We're talking about
You
guys
know.
with like laser swords in here. So
True,
You know what I
true.
mean?
But I'm just
So-
thinking there's no gravity in space, right? Like the
like
bombs
that
wouldn't
guy,
drop.
he said eject, and he was like, "Why would you eject in space?"
yeah.
And
So
I
bad
mean,
idea.
sorry, Leo, what do you feel about
it's-
the light speed thing? Weaponizing light speed. Is that problematic?
Yeah, that is problematic to me. I think that's it doesn't, to be quite honest, I didn't like the simple fact that we were introduced to light speed travel, even in The Force Awakens. The beauty of the other films was that we just saw them, to and from. You know what I mean? Like we didn't actually have to see, what's going on through light speed. I just wanted to actually see. I mean, it was interesting to actually see it, but the whole beauty of Star Wars is that you don't. It's the mystery surrounding it. You know what I mean? So I like the simple fact that we didn't actually get those in the old films, but in this one I just didn't. And then on top of that, to be quite honest, this was a direct copy of, what was the name of that J.J. Abrams Star Trek film?
Oh, Into Darkness.
In the Dark with Khan.
Yep.
It was a direct copy of that film. The light speed travel, whereas the other ship was traveling through light speed, as warp speed, whatever, to catch up to the Enterprise and stuff like that. It was a direct copy of it. You know what I mean? I think that they could have did something different. It could have been more original, but I think they just played on that way too much, and they just needed a plot device at that point. And I think it was just, it's like they're on a string and we're following them. So
I just think it's problematic because, like, why don't you just fly ships into your enemy with light speed all the time? Like,
Yeah.
you could just put a droid in it and be like, fly at light speed into their ship and destroy it. Like
Yeah.
that would, you
I
can't.
guess
really,
it just has to be a big enough ship to do it.
right.
and-
But you
and I
can't
think
weaponize
basi-
light speed. It's too problematic.
Yeah, you can't really weaponize it, and I think that was just a last ditch, the Hodo move they called it, in which even like in the next film they called that move. It's like, no, that was a one-off. That's not something that
Right.
that could.
Yeah, it
So
was a
I mean,
one-time
yeah,
thing.
that was just like a one-time thing, and it was something that she just thought of at that particular time. So I just that didn't really work for me. But other than that, like I said, there were certain things that were okay, I guess, that were good, that we did get something from it, but I think that those things are overshadowed by everything else that went horribly wrong. And when you attach, like now, it's like if you attach Ryan Johnson to any film, and the thing is, honestly, truthfully, Disney knew that. That's why they didn't actually bring him back when they said they were going to bring him back for
Yeah,
his own
it's not
trilogy.
happening.
It's like, hell nah, we ain't doing that. We don't
They
need that
said
much
it's still
more background.
possible. I'm like, no chance.
No chance in hell.
It's too controversial. It's not going to happen.
Not unless they don't like money, then they can
Right.
bring it back.
People would boycott that. But optical, what is there anything good about this film? You think?
Yeah,
Like,
visuals,
Yeah.
like Mel says, like the fight scenes,
Yeah.
the jokes, I guess, to a degree,
Yeah.
like, I think, yeah, that's it. But again, like it got overshadowed by a lot of things. I would
To be
I think
The
it's paced
end-
well. I mean,
be honest,
besides
yeah,
the
they're pretty
Canto
consistent.
bite.
It was consistently boring. Then
Well, we were talking about optical. You were like, it's better now. It's worse. It's getting better, and I was the same way when I was watching. I was like,
Yeah,
it's
it's-
better, and now it's kind of stagnant.
the first hour was okay. I wouldn't say it's good. like I said, they got no moments. That's the thing. There's no particular moment they'll be like, oh man, this is the Last Jedi. Outside of that fight with
The Praetorian Guard fight.
yeah,
But that's
outside of
not.
those
That's later
where-
in the movie. Yeah.
where it's not it got also kind of got diminished because of the two people fighting them. It's just Rey and Kylo, which is they're gonna come down in history as gonna be like most wasted potential maybe in Star Wars because you know what I mean. Like it was Luke Skywalker, then would have been epic, kind of like what happened to Mandalorian, and that's a TV series. But since it's them, it kind of got watered down a little bit. But other than that, yeah, it got overshadowed by so many horrible things that happened there.
Yeah. Actually, I was surprised with Optical. No, I thought he was gonna like The Last Jedi, but I guess he didn't like it.
You know what I was thinking
It's
about?
okay.
Are you like? I was just like, is PJ like got into my head because I know you hate it, so much.
Yes.
But I was just like, no, I was watching it with a clear mind. I'm rooting for Kylo and Rey because I really want to like it, but no.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I agree. You're being reasonable about it. Like I mean, you don't want to go into any film preconceived notions about hating it. Like it's and no one here did. So I mean, we all wanted to love it.
Outside
So-
of PJ,
Yeah.
he didn't even.
PJ wanted to love it, but he just didn't. I mean, like like I said, I like the film. I don't think it's awful. I think it's just not. It's not a good sequel to Force Awakens on further watch, and I feel like as a Star Wars film, it pulls way too many gotcha moments just for shock value.
Yeah, it's to me, it's not a. I don't feel like it's a Star Wars. It doesn't have the essence of a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
In terms of the positives about this, I like Kylo. I mean, I just like his descent to the dark side. He was consistent with that, and that's really just I'm reaching at this point. I'm
I like to see him struggle. Man.
I know. I wanted to put him on the spot with this question.
yeah.
What's
but,
your rating,
you know,
PJ? I think I maybe asked you. What did you? I forgot what you told me there.
It was like a
7.5.
no. That's as a sci-fi movie.
Oh, okay.
But as a Star Wars film, like a 4.
4.5 ish. Yeah, but the thing
Okay.
is, it has a lot of potential. I think we touched upon it. Like I think like there's so many shock values. Even like when Finn was going to sacrifice himself to save his friends, and that was still taken away from him. I'm like, okay, cool. Like this is like Finn's moment, right? Even though I didn't like him I wanted him to live. I'm like, okay, cool. And then boom, here comes Rose. You're like, what the hell? Like, where did that come from? Another shock value to the shock value. It's like, what the hell?
Rose is not a particularly good character. I mean, we haven't even talked about her that much. It's not the actress's fault. It's not.
Yeah,
she did a good job.
Yeah.
It's just and the attacks on her were obviously ridiculous. Like all of us always condemn that type of behavior. Like separate the art from the artist if you can. Like there's no reason to attack her for that. Like it's the writing. Just her character sucked. I mean,
She was there for one reason and one reason only.
probably to push the plot forward.
So this movie can be shown in China.
Oh, so
They
it was a
only-
diversity movie.
They only show 10 American movies a year in China. So by putting one Asian actress in this big budgeted movie, you kind of like forced to, so
Yeah,
Okay.
and you know what the comment that I disliked that Ryan Johnson said about Rose Tico, like, cause he created that character, and he was like, "Oh, I created this Rose Tico character because she reminded me of a friend I knew back in high school." I'm like, "What the freak?"
Did he really
Like-
say that?
Like, yeah, I was just like, so you have like this like Asian friend that you did, like you thought of like this way. Like I was like, I don't know, like I find that kind of almost like not
kind of
completely
insulting.
insulting. Like
It's
you're
not
like,
even- She's gonna put something. It's not even attractive. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And nothing against that. No, I'm just being dead serious here. I mean, if you're gonna put somebody, John Boyega is a good-looking dude, and then you're gonna put Rose in there, kind of like you're downgrading John Boyega all of a sudden. He's supposed to be with Ray. Not only did you downgrade him from being the guy, now you gave him like the best friend of the leading lady. What
yeah.
the heck?
No, and the thing is, yeah, with that too, like that was weird with the romantic. Like I
Yeah.
thought Ray and Finn were gonna hook up, right? Like it looked like it from the first movie,
Yeah,
Right.
and then that was.
Well,
and
JJ
another-
threw that all away and Rise of Skywalker.
Imagine they were billing this the Force Awakens back then. And not that has anything to do with anything, but they were billing it as a woman and a guy in color starring in Star Wars. That was the bill back then. So that was a big
Yeah.
thing. And
Yeah.
by The Last Jedi, I mean,
It's almost like they could have made them co-leads.
right. Not that it has to do with anything, but that
They
was
should
kind
have
of
been
what was selling
co-leads.
back then.
Yeah, they
They
should have
sh-
been like Finn
they
could have had because
should.
Finn is force sensitive, so they could
Oh,
have
well,
had.
yeah. Oh, but when did they add that?
Yeah,
Like
Rise of Skywalker.
the last minute of the Rise of Skywalker. That was
Right.
yeah, he's forced. He didn't even finish it. He didn't finish the sentence. J.J. Abrams had to explain it in an interview. Oh yeah, he was gonna say he was force sensitive. We couldn't put that in the movie. for no wonder John Boyega's pissed. You know,
Well, yeah, who
you
knows what he
couldn't-
was promised, but I mean, they could have definitely set that up in The Force Awakens. It explains why he held his own with Kylo, at least for a little bit. I mean,
I know. Hey, John Boyega was one of the biggest cheerleaders for Star Wars at that time, man. Like,
Yeah.
when Force Awakens was released, he was like a huge cheerleader for it. He loved the film. He loved the direction that they were actually taking, thinking that, I guess, the next film, he was going to get his chance to shine, and they just let us know so much. It's like, I don't know. That's why I think that, what inclusion and everything took a back seat in that second film, and even more of a back seat in the last film. You know what I mean? Like, and that's been my biggest thing. The way they basically treated what's her name? With the actress's name, not Rose Tyke, Kelly Marie Tran. The way the fans basically, and this is where toxicity, but I just don't agree with it. Like the way they basically treated
agree.
her, to where she had to shut down her entire social media platform just because of fans, because of the stuff that they were actually saying, the threats and everything like that. I'm sorry, and I don't mean it. I hope you don't get a strike, but that's complete bullshit. Like the way they basically treated her was completely unfair. And it was a slap in my face, you know what I mean? Considering the fact that one of my best friends is Asian. You know what I mean? That some of the people that actually went to the movie theaters to see the film were Asians. And to see their face, bro, and to see how they actually felt, and then to hear some of the stuff that they were actually telling me, even like just watching, like, some of the backlash from the film, and then like people blaming her and this, that, and the third. That right there is what takes me completely out of everything at that point, because I was seriously about to delete my own social media page because of everything, bro, because I was tired of hearing it, the back and forth. It's like, people, okay, let the fan, if the film is bad, let it genuinely be a bad film, not displace the weight of the show, like the weight of that on someone's shoulder who didn't write the film. She was just an actress in the movie. You know what I mean? Yes, the character was not interesting at all. The way they wrote her was just like, yo, you just put this character in there to kind of segue to draw that wedge between Rey and Finn. You know what I mean? You just did it that way just to give a distraction at that particular point. It just made no sense. There was no sense. It made absolutely no sense at all. And I didn't like it. Like, I didn't like the way they did that. But to blame one character or an actress, for an entire film, I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I didn't like the film, even more. And I think, if you listen, if you see, Kelly Marie Tran outside of the film, she's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like, she is gorgeous. She is a beautiful female to me. You know what I mean? In that film, they made her look one way, but outside of the film, if you see her basically showing up at award ceremonies and shows like that, she's gorgeous. She deserved a bit more. Like, she deserved a lot more than what was given. You know what I mean? Like, look, if you come on, man. Like, I just think that, Rian Johnson, to me, had an ulterior motive, and his motive was only to basically put certain people on a platform, and everybody else was just basically playing bench warmers. And I didn't like that, bro. Like, I just didn't like the way that was portrayed on film. You know what I mean?
I agree. And Nickelodeon Production says, Ryan, like, I don't know if you could highlight that comment. Ryan wanted to make her frumpy and portray her negatively, which I agree. Like, she again,
stereotypical of like the Asian woman,
yeah,
annoying. Like, the only thing they didn't do is they can't make her drive. That's the only thing that they then left there. They did all the stereotypical Asian sidekick that they did, and it's not her fault.
Exactly.
Asian best friend sidekick. That's what it is. And I'm not mad because I'm Asian. I'm just saying, like, it was because she dragged John Boyega's character down as well, which he has so much potential. Just because of this typical, best friend sidekick kind of thing, and I don't know.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why, like, that's I was like, when he said that in like one of the behind the scenes thing in the Blu-ray, and I was watching it. He was like, "Yeah, I wrote her based off like my friend in high school." So you had like like you made this like annoying Asian, like you like optical set annoying Asian
Annoying
sidekick?
Asian, always causing trouble, right? Like you're always
Yeah.
the cause of trouble because if you're either you don't use your brain, it's just use your heart. It's kind of like, dude, come on, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? Another character got pushed back a little bit too is Poe.
Poe.
Like he went from this leader type to this annoying person that was questioning leadership, and I don't know what the hell happened with Poe in that. Again, F this movie.
They did-
Why
well,
did you
they-
bring me back to this? That's
This pain. Well, they did the same thing. I mean, Hodo is awful too. I mean, like
she was
so
pointless.
It's all of them, really. I mean, like, I feel like there's so many problems with the whole Holdo and Poe plot is just so problematic. Also, why not just tell them the plan? You could literally like get rid of all the drama that's going on, a mutiny, if you just say, hey, like, or even say, hey, I got a secret plan. You got to trust me on this one. Leia trusted me with this plan. We're going to do something. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I don't trust anybody. But even that. But the only reason, it's a plot device. Literally, the only reason they don't do that is to create drama. And it feels very contrived.
You know what? I agree with the single songwriter because I've read Poe like the book, like the actual comics. And he does like, even, knowing that Luke knew Poe's parents, basically back, beforehand. It explains a lot, about the tree that was actually that they overlooked. They actually watch over, which was a force sensitive. It was basically a force sensitive sort of like tree, like where the force was derived from. Like the backstory of Poe, they should have explored that. It should have been done. I think that he should have. There should have been more meat to the actual character. You got to remember, JJ wanted to kill him off in the first film. Like he was literally supposed to die in that first film, and JJ just kind of wrote him back into the actual story. But again, I mean, this goes back to the simple fact that there was zero plan, and it showed. I mean, look what they did to Gwendolyn Christie. Like they destroyed her character, and I loved her character.
Phasma.
I love Phasma. I love what she looked like, I love what she could have been. Not what they made her, but what she could have actually been. And it be, what's so sad about it, bro? After that film, where is she now?
Yeah.
Destroyed her, man.
She did Game of Thrones, and then this,
I
and
haven't
then that's
seen
it.
her since.
She was
Since
hot.
Game of Thrones, I haven't seen her since.
Not like kind of hot. Like I mean, like she was hot. in
Oh, I thought you meant like she was like
Hot.
hot. I'm like, well, she's pretty
the,
tall.
no, she
Like Abby Hot.
Yeah, like Abby Hot.
yeah.
I guess she's hot in that kind of way, like strong.
Throw you.
Yeah, she could throw. She threw the hound. If she could throw the hound, she can throw PJ.
Oh, I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I know you do.
Oh
You're gonna have
wow!
Abby choke you, and then you're also gonna have everyone else choke you.
Somebody said Omega is Phasma. Yo, if that turns, that's pretty good.
That would be good. I
That
can't.
would
I
be
thought
good.
maybe she'd somehow pull a Palpatine. Somehow Phasma has returned because like she would come back in the Rise of Skywalker, but I guess it didn't happen. But okay, so
You're like, hey, she just fell into the fire, right? And
yeah, that's what I thought. Like she had armor
all
on.
that chrome, man.
Boba Fett fell into like what's the creature called again?
The Sarlacc pit.
Sarlacc. Yeah, he fell into a Sarlacc pit and survived.
Darth Maul just cut in half.
Yeah, Darth Maul literally got cut in half. His intestines would fall out. Like
Yeah.
and he came back. So I mean, they could
It's
do
not
anything they
impossible.
want.
It's not impossible.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So okay, final question for you guys: is there any chance this changes in perception over time with the masses? Like, is this a sort of Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones that people hated at the time, and now they're gonna love eventually? Is that possible?
No.
No.
No, Leo, you say
Yeah,
no?
okay.
No.
Can I real quick?
I think it's
was gonna-
possible.
I mean, here's the
I
thing.
think it's possible because it may not be for us, but there are people out there who basically might have. There's a few people out there love the film, and I think it's possible because again, like I said, in Filoni we trust. He can. There's certain things that can be done that can spin the narrative and change it, to change the way we view it. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. It'll probably happen when I'm like 82. But other than that, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's any, you know what? In this day and age, anything is possible at this point. What we say is like, look, people said the same ish about the prequels, and there's people who now love the prequels because of the way things changed. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing for the sequels. I think there's a possibility. There's always a possibility. Is there a strong possibility? No, but I think there's a possibility.
Yeah. So for me, like, I love the prequels. Like, even though it has its flaws, I loved it. It's Star Wars. Original trilogy, I loved it because it's the OG. With this sequel trilogy, see what the sequel trilogy did is make people realize how good the prequels were. That's why the prequels are getting the love now that it deserved, is because of the sequel trilogy, because people are missing the storytelling of George Lucas. When people saw the sequel trilogy, they realized there's no cohesiveness. They're like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. You know, from one movie to this movie to that. And they're realizing that, wow, even though the prequels has its flaws, it does have its flaws. The pacing in Phantom Menace, the Jar Jar, Jar Jar Binks. Even though I like Jar Jar Binks, some people might say Jar Jar Binks, and some people might say the dialogue and all these things. Whatever it is, they like it now because they realize that George Lucas is an amazing storyteller. There's no mind like him. Back then when he owned Star Wars, everything went through him. He approved everything. And if you came to him with a story, he would look at it and say, you know what? To make this like Star Wars, you got to change this, and this, and that. And that's what's missing with the sequel trilogy. Now, I agree with Leo. Anything's possible. And in Filoni, we trust. And I'm telling you guys right now, it's the Ahsoka show that will change everything. You heard it here in Will Foxification's YouTube channel.
You love Ahsoka, man. Everything's always about Ahsoka.
But this one specifically, I'm telling you, if they didn't tease that poster with the world between worlds,
I do agree with you in a sense, PJ. Like, but in my opinion, the first two prequel films are just not good films. Like, they're not good Star Wars films. They're not good made films. Period. Like, I mean,
why would you say it's not good Star Wars films? And I'm going to challenge you.
I don't feel like they capture the essence of the originals. They tried to be different, right? But so did The Last Jedi.
See, the thing is, but here's the thing is, and I'm going to challenge you on your opinion.
Yeah, go ahead.
In a friendly way. The thing is, you said that you didn't get into Star Wars
right
until The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
So you really didn't have a connection with the Star Wars original trilogy and the prequels. So
Right.
how are you going to say that the prequels doesn't feel like a Star Wars film if you don't have a connection with the original trilogy and the prequels?
Well, I saw the prequels in theaters when I was a kid, so it's not like I hadn't seen them, and I'd seen the originals too. It just wasn't like I was like in love with Star Wars. You know what I mean? It's not like I had never seen the prequels and then saw the sequels and then went back and watched the prequels. Like, I had already seen them all, so like multiple times, and I enjoyed them. But like, and I love Revenge of the Sith. I think that's an awesome film. Like, I think he absolutely stuck the landing. But I just think, like, I went, even as a big Star Wars fan now, like, I went back and watched the first two prequel films. Like, I just don't feel like they tried to go big, but I feel like there's so many ideas mishmashed all over the place in those two films. Like, cohesion possibly in how it ends. Like, I feel like the ending kind of sticks the landing for the other two, but like, it's just so much going on and so much bad dialogue, and like it's just all over the place. I feel
aside from dialogue aside, cohesively storytelling, it was way better than the sequels. And that's just my opinion. And that's just mainly because of the simple fact that we knew at least we can see the direction where it was going. When one film ended, the next film picked it up.
Sure.
The next film picked it up. That's, I mean, did the prequels actually have flaws? Yeah, it had a lot of flaws, but not as visible as the sequels.
Yeah.
These sequels were visibly terrible.
I would say
And that's not even. And I'm taking Force Awakens away from the last
Yeah,
two
I
films.
get what you
I'm
mean.
not
Yeah.
putting Force Awakens with those last two films. Those last two films were terrible.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What they did was terrible. What the prequels did, even though the dialogue was choppy, I think they made up for in the Revenge of the Sith. You know what I mean? They made up
This is
for
great.
it. You know what I mean? Because Sith basically tied it up in a nice bow. The dialogue was a tad bit better, and we got an understanding. The first two films, yeah, the dialogue was a bit off, but at the same time, cohesively, it was still going in the direction where we could understand where it was going, and we were riding that narrative the whole way through, and it gave you an appreciation for it. These films, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think over time the perception would change, but it's going to take a long time, especially because we didn't have social media when the prequels were released. So we didn't know what was actually going on behind scenes. There wasn't a lot of things that we knew that these characters, I mean, people can have these discussions out in public and stuff like that, but social media we didn't have that back then. Now we have wherever, people can have these discussions, and it's more divisive. So it's,
Yeah, I agree.
what I would say too, Will, is that to answer your question, no, it would not get better over time. And this is where the benefit of the prequels does have. It's like watching Titanic. You know what's going to happen. You know Anakin is Vader. So you're following one specific character in here and his progression. That's one thing that's working out for the prequels so much, because you already know the finished product. So this is a story of Vader. Unlike this sequel, he actually did the opposite. The prequels is trying to mold what's going to happen on the OT. This one is destroying what OT was, because they're kind of handing up the torch. That's where they can't stand on their own. Compared to the prequels, it's not trying to undone whatever the OT did. It's actually trying to make sense of what it does.
Right.
Where on this one, that's where they have the benefit. Now, if the OT wasn't done and it's just a prequel, there would be no Star Wars, because the voices, the acting, the dialogue, it was horrible. Like, as a standalone movie, let's say this is the beginning. Oh man, they would have stopped at 3.
They wouldn't
Yeah.
have done 4.
They wouldn't have-
depending on the box office returns, but
Right, like people would not be like, this is it. But we have the benefit of like, oh man, I want to see how Vader started.
right, yeah. And I agree. Like I just think maybe I'm looking at it more as films, like filmmaking, right? I just feel like
Yeah.
those first two films are not well-made films. Like I that's just my opinion. Like I just feel like I even feel like Force Awakens is a far, far better made film, more competently made film than the first two prequels are. Like Revenge of the Sith, I can give you that one. Like I like Force Awakens better, but I love Revenge of the Sith. I think it's great.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Can't when it comes to Star Wars films, you kind of have to separate the movie making, like more like, not say movie making aspect, like you're gonna watch this and it's gonna be Academy Award winning movie. You kind of have to go in there and say, this is going to be a sci-fi Star Wars movie. What makes Star Wars special is because the essence of Star Wars. You're not gonna go in there. You're not gonna get Academy Award winning, best actor or best director. You're not. You have to separate yourself from that. So with the prequels, yeah, it has its flaws. The dialogue is really hard to get through with. But again, like Leal said, the story and you have to look at, like, what Nicolia Production says, right? The prequels are less complex than you think. They are. If you think about it, just really think about it and take away the dialogue and just look at the story as a whole, you're going to see that the Jedi were flawed. They were flawed. The, what's it called? You got one Sith Lord that was, playing as a puppet master to everybody. He underthrew the whole Republic on his own. He was playing both sides. He was a Chancellor Palpatine and a Sith Lord. He was fooling Count Dooku. He was fooling the Jedi Order because he was a Chancellor. He was doing all these things. And if you look at it as a whole, like how he took on Anakin as a father figure and all these things, and how he manipulated even Darth Maul, it's just crazy. Even he manipulated even General Grievous.
yeah.
He manipulated everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just shows you how bad the sequels are, not just in movie making. Because we can agree the first one was good, but the second one, I'm looking at it not in a Star Wars perspective, and I thought it was bad. That people are willing to get that bad 3 films and make it look pretty, just so they can destroy the sequel. That's just how bad they hate this one. So, like in Star Wars, it's like PJ is saying, it's hard to look at it just a movie because it's a universe. And the thing with the prequel is that they had a universe, and they're just kind of like, how do you say this?
Connecting the dots.
Connecting the dots there.
Yeah.
In the terms of the sequel, no, they're trying to start a whole new universe, handing off, like, hey, you guys exit the Skywalkers, you guys are out, and we're coming in. The prequels accomplished what they needed to do, tell the Darth Vader story. They did that. The sequels, they didn't really do any. They didn't hand it over. At the end of the last, what do you call that? Rise of Skywalker. It's not like, yes, we have a new, we have a new R2D2 in BB-8. We have a new Skywalker. We have a new Darth Vader. Nothing. It was kind of like, oh, okay, so this was it, huh? All right. All righty then.
And I give it to me, but I really love the Rise of Skywalker for what it did, because I do understand the tough position that it was in. Like, basically, everything they had to do was the opposite of what Ryan Johnson did. Basically,
we're gonna watch that still.
What'd you say?
We're gonna watch that.
Okay, we'll get to it. But I'll just say, like, just overall, like, I don't think the sequel. I think the sequel trilogy will. I don't think Last Jedi will necessarily, but I think the sequel trilogy will be viewed more favorably over time. That's not just like my hope that it does, because I understand and I acknowledge there's flaws in it, no doubt about it. It would be crazy to say there's not cohesiveness like through and through. That's crazy. But I enjoyed them. Like, I enjoyed them as films, and I feel like, ultimately they do succeed in a lot of things and they fail in cohesion in some respects. I absolutely agree. And some of it absolutely shoehorned in, like the Palpatine thing. No way that was planned the whole time.
And these things are kind of like boxing. Like with Mayweather, he beat Canelo really early on in Canelo's career.
Right.
It wouldn't mean anything if Canelo didn't become a world champion. It's kind of like he beat another bum.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like this one. If Rey and Kylo, if they manage to, save their characters, then it would be like, all right, let's revisit this movie's back, and maybe you view it in a different light. But if they don't save them, this would even go even deeper as a bigger failure, because they really didn't do anything. They didn't they didn't connect it to the OT, then they didn't make their own mark. Now, unless PJ saying like Ahsoka's gonna be a banger, then maybe a little bit.
Everything Ahsoka's in is a banger to PJ.
No, he wants to bang Ahsoka. So.
He's a simp. Yeah.
That's
what the commenters say.
Yeah, no, but the thing is, I'm telling you, it's just that's the only way I could see it happening, and I just don't think that over time people will be like, oh, I like this. It's just, even now, like I can't even go back and watch, because it just opens up a wound that I don't want it to open up.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And this is, guy, I'm telling you, from me, I accepted a lot of things. I looked over a lot of mistakes Star Wars has made throughout the years and stuff, and that's how much I love Star Wars. For me to say I dislike a Star Wars movie, dude, that is, for me at least, that's a lot.
But honestly, like, thing I want to touch on real quick, just judging from these comments, you can see people are still split on this. Like, I feel like it shouldn't be this divisive, but it is. So, I mean, like, there's half the people, or maybe more, who don't like it, and then, like, another half to maybe a third who really like it. So, I mean, like, that shouldn't be happening, but it is. And I think it's interesting to look at these films in at least the context of that, to understand why this divisiveness happened in the first place and what we can do to kind of avoid it in the future. But I do feel like, I mean, like, and I've understood too, like, we talk about the planning thing, right? 100%. They should have had a plan. But I'm not entirely convinced. Like, I've read a lot of different things on this. I'm not entirely convinced that George always knew Vader was going to be Luke's father. Like, I'm not convinced that was really a planned thing. Like, and I've heard even reports of George telling people in secret that it was not planned. So, like, they came up with it before Empire came out. And Luke, being Leia's brother and sister, they kissed. Like, I'm not convinced that was in the plans the whole time either. So I feel like there are things that we're willing to overlook with the OT that we're not willing to overlook with the sequels. And I think over time that might change.
I think, you know what, at the end of the day, man, like every film in every trilogy is divisive. People didn't like the direction that the original Matrix took. with all three films. They thought the second one was horrible. They thought that the third one was terrible. The original was the best. Same with the Lord of the Rings. There were a lot of people didn't, there was divisiveness. There was a lot of divisiveness there, but they weren't. Again, we didn't have social media as wide as we actually have it now. We've seen the divisiveness with Game of Thrones. We've seen it with so many. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think the thing is with Star Wars, because it's such a big franchise, because it has been something that's moved with time, of course there's going to be a bigger platform. And the thing is, and I think, any opinion is, there's not a right or wrong opinion, to be quite honest, because if that person feels the way they do about the film, they feel the way they do about the film, and it's not my job and it's not my responsibility to change your mind, because that's changing your opinion. You have your own mind, you can think. Absolutely. So, that's the thing, is like, will another person's opinion change my mind about certain things? No. Just because these films were made and they were horrible, it hasn't taken my love away from Star Wars. I love Star Wars. I've always been a fan of Star Wars. I'll continue to love Star Wars. I love what it basically gives me. I love the lore. There's going to be opinions. There's going to be good opinions. There's going to be bad opinions. I can respect somebody else's opinion, and that's fine. The moment it gets toxic is when I just check out.
Yeah.
That's my point. When it gets toxic and you start attacking somebody's integrity and their character, that's when I check out. Because like I said, it shouldn't be forceful, man. That's when I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going. I'll let y'all have this discussion, and I'm just going to back out. Especially once it gets ignorant, and you start, sending people depth. Yeah, if it gets personal, come on, man. And that's not it. Look, the bottom line is when George Lucas created these films, he created for kids. He didn't really create. It was a family-oriented type of situation. Mm-hmm. He wanted to create something that was family-driven. You can see the struggle between family. That's what he created it for. And he created it, in a sense, for everybody, in a sense, to come together. There were so many different things that were going on that the original films touched upon. You know what I mean? Like the Vietnam War, everything that has happened in history with, Hitler and the Nazis and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And even in certain tropes with religion, he touched on those things because that's what he was surrounded by. So that's what I look at. And those are the positives that I take away from everything. Was it his vision when we see 7, 8, and 9? Hell no. That wasn't his vision. I don't think that was the route that he wanted to take, but he sold it off. What could he do at that particular point? Did he want this toxic community? Hell no. I don't think anybody basically does. But at the same time, people do have a right to formulate their opinion. Just keep the toxic shit out of it. Yeah. That's what I feel,
I agree. And the thing is, with me and, with the prequels, and I think the layout touched upon it just now, is that, like, that's one thing, he wanted to, use as, I don't know, bring into the prequels. If you think about Palpatine, he was almost like a Hitler, like how he rose to power and how he, created the empire, right? Mm-hmm. That was drawn from Hitler, right? So he kind of brought that into the films. So, with that being said, like, for me, the sequels are just a big miss for me. And like when Nickelodeon Production says they're just fan films, as much as I like The Force Awakens, I would give my left testicle to find out, like, I want to see the story treatment, the story treatment that George Lucas had planned for 7, 8, 9, because to me that's canon.
I think you might be disappointed.
Why?
Because you're going to give your left testicle away, and it might suck.
You only need one testicle, right?
Hey, so is that true?
And you got 4 kids already, so you.
Yeah, I guess you're good. You're good. You don't have to worry about it. But I don't know, PJ. Like, I feel like, do you really think that Disney would turn down a good idea? I mean, do you really think
he was on an interview. He even said it. Like, they turned down his idea.
Yeah, but I'm saying, that doesn't mean it was good. It was a good one. Like, I mean, like that doesn't mean that his idea for a sequel trilogy was a good idea.
It would have been 10 times better than this bullcrap that we got. Like, I guarantee that. No, I guarantee it would have been 10 times better than this crap that we got right now, man.
I can't remember
regardless, Will. Like, say you're telling a story
Yeah.
And I'm intrigued with this story, and then you were like, well, you know what, I'm gonna bring it to Optical, and I want him to continue the story, but I want him to use my cliff notes and all these outline I had for the rest of the story, and Optical goes, this sucks, I'm gonna make my own story. Now for me, like, that's like really interested in your story, and Optical is like, is it really like Will Foxification story? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is this really the story that you really want to be told? Like, for me, like, regardless if it's gonna suck or not, it's George Lucas's story. It's 7, 8, 9. If
Sure.
you didn't want that story to be told, if you didn't want to use his what's that called? The outline he had for 7, 8, 9, then go with something else.
But I don't think...
High Republic, Old Republic, you got all those other universes to
True.
explore. Why continue the story that he created?
I get what you mean. Yeah, but I just feel like those two trilogies are finalized. Like, Disney didn't buy this for the fans; they bought it as an investment. I mean, like you know what I mean?
I agree, but
They wanted to make something that would make them money, and that's what they did with Force Awakens. And they obviously thought George's ideas wouldn't make them money.
regardless of that, as a fan, as someone that you listen to Star Wars from episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 6, and then to continue it with 7, 8, 9, and that's not George Lucas's story, is it really 7, 8, 9 then?
Well, is the Mandalorian Star Wars?
Well,
I mean-
it's Dave Filoni that can just kind of
Right.
like.
That's my point, though. I mean, like, George didn't come up with that idea, as far as I know.
Well, they
Which
still,
idea? What idea?
Mandalorian.
Well,
Like,
now
is
they
Mandalorian Star Wars?
Yeah,
they
did.
consulted with him. They consulted, like, John Favreau consulted with George Lucas in regards to, because that's pretty
Yeah,
much,
that's
Which
he
you should.
admitted that
You
he
should consult with the guy.
he consulted with him, and there was a lot of things that George helped him change, and they did really seek his direction. I think in my opinion, I think majority and some of the success with the Mandalorian had to do with, pretty much Lucas's sort of guidance in it. That they kind of let him come in and take a look, and they did ask questions. I mean,
Yeah.
the thing is, it's like, to attack, you know what? It's like to attack him is like to attack God and say that you made us wrong. You know what I mean? He had a plan. You know what I mean? He knew what he wanted to do. So, you know what I mean? That's what I think makes it's
Yeah.
different, though. I don't know.
Yeah, and again, right now they are making the High Republic books and comic books. They don't need George Lucas to ask for it because, it's a whole different era. It's a whole different era. What they're gonna ask? Hey, we're gonna make this character. I don't know, Jason. I don't know.
Well, it's
like,
kind of the same with Mando. It's like unexplored territory as far as
But it's still-
live
it's-
action goes.
Yeah, but it's still in like that realm. It's close to the Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I get what you're saying, Will. Like, they bought Star Wars, and buying it,
It's
after-
theirs. They can do whatever they want
bought,
with it.
Yeah, they bought it right after the mess that, quote unquote, because no one likes prequels back then.
Everyone
Like,
hated them.
yeah, so they were like, all right, we're just buying the IP. We don't really need you. I think that's what they're thinking there. Now, it backfired. It did. But
They still made good money, though, from those three films.
I think
They could have made more, but
the thing is, and I think I watched this video and they broke it down. They really didn't make a lot of money in terms of like
they're still in the hole.
they're still in the hole.
in the
still in
fourth
the
bill,
hole.
yeah, right.
Yeah, they're still in the hole. Like, because you have to think like they had to get money to produce
Right.
all
Produce
these
the
films.
film, pay everybody,
And-
yeah.
yeah.
And the merch
And-
didn't sell as well for the sequels, so
So and that's the thing is that okay, yeah, you bought this IP and now it's like
but
what good is the IP if you're just going to destroy it?
I think this comment really touches on it. Like, if George wanted to make those sequels, why didn't he just make them, and why did he sell it to Disney?
Well, I think you know what it is too. One thing about Star Wars is that there's a lot of like what Leila said. There's a lot of toxic stuff,
Yeah, he
And-
felt right.
and he's getting old. He's 70-something years
True,
old
but
now.
or if he really loves Dave Filoni, he want to be like, hey, Dave, I'm going to give this to you
Well,
to
does Dave
fulfill my vision.
Dave does see the thing is he
It's all about resources.
Exactly.
It's all about resources.
Amen.
Dave Filoni didn't have a lot of resources. You know what I mean?
So-
He was brought in by Disney just to kind of
Right.
construct certain
But if
things.
you have
and
George
results
Lucas's
with.
backing and say like, I want to make 3 more Star Wars film, I'm sure you could find a studio to make those films.
I think George is still hurting from the sequels that he did.
I think the prequels, I think he got
prequels,
his
I mean.
feelings hurt because like everyone hated him and he felt like, and I get it, like everyone was attacking Jake Lloyd, Hayden Christensen, George. Everyone was saying George destroyed Star Wars. Like, you know, like that's what I'm saying. It's no different.
Yeah, the thing is,
Like-
you know what it is, especially with newspapers back then. We didn't. Again, there wasn't a social media back then. So the
Right.
people that were very vocal about the prequels are usually the critics, right?
True,
You know,
true.
it's usually the critics. Because what outlet did you have back then? The newspaper.
Yeah, or like the
You
news
don't have
stations.
social media. There's no internet web. Even if you tried to log into a website back then, it took you 20 minutes just to log into a website. And at that time, you're like, let me go on AOL Instant Messenger. Anyway, I'm dating myself here. But the thing is, you know what it is too, is that George Lucas, he cared about the fans. He cared about the stories that he wanted to tell. Disney did a bait and switch. They were like, "No, George, we're gonna use your story. Don't worry, it'll
Bob
be
Iger.
good."
Yeah, that's wrong. If they did that 100%.
Oh,
Bob Iger
actually,
did
I
that.
was
And
saying,
Bob
Yeah,
Iger-
I saw he
Bob
talked about
Iger-
it in his book.
He
yeah.
admitted it. He admitted what he did in his book. He admitted that. He
Right.
came out and admitted it, and because basically he didn't have a choice. He didn't have a choice. He had to actually openly say what he did after he bought it. You know what I mean? So it's, you know, it would how they did it. Look, blame, you know, and anybody can blame George Lucas if they want. They can basically say, you know, whatever, and that's fine. Like everybody has their opinion about it. The bottom line is, if there was no George Lucas, there wouldn't be a Star Wars.
No Star Wars.
We wouldn't
for
we wouldn't have this conversation at this point. He is a person who had a vision. It was his vision, and just like someone said in here, you know, the stories and basically the way George wrote it, he basically was the single mind. People who actually came up with these the trilogy or the sequels, they're a committee. You know what I mean? They didn't, you know, that's all it was about. Like the thing is, the way things are right now is taken away from what Star Wars really means to a lot of people in a positive way. Like now it's just like everything that's happening right now is just so negative that those who do have a positive voice are afraid to speak out because they'll get attacked. That's the biggest problem. So like I said, like just like PJ, like I really hold Star Wars near and dear to my heart for the simple fact that it was something that brought me and my family together. So I owe that to Star Wars in so many different reasons. Like me and my dad, me and my mother, my brothers and stuff. Like I said, we would come together and watch it. Even for the holidays, we do that. So it may be a joke for some, and I get that, but I don't joke around with it. To me, I don't find it funny. I don't find a humor in it. I'm not going to sit back here. It's the thing is, the way things were done, there needs to be a course correction. They need to right the wrong. They need to change certain things. Yes, it's just like for instance, Will, you with The Last of Us. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, Optical, you with what the
Dark Knight.
the Dark Knight trilogy. You know what I mean? Those things like you love and you're like, look, you know, if it's wrong, you're going to see it and you're going to point it out, and it's going to kind of, in a sense, it may be funny to some, but it's going to kind of hurt you a little bit because you were on this journey.
Yep.
So that's just the way I feel about it. Like this
The
shit
same with
needs to be
yeah.
right. You know what I mean?
And I
like,
empathize with that 100%. I know how it feels.
I'm in the same boat, you know. And the thing is that for me, with The Last of Us, right? Like I respect Will's opinion because he loves that more than I do, right? If he sees something wrong, I'm going to say, you know what? That's just his opinion. I'm actually going to take that into consideration because he has more connection to those characters, to that franchise than I do. Then I'm going to take that into consideration.
And you respect it. Like
Sure,
even
I
when
respect all
and
your,
when
but
I
it doesn't
saw
make me right.
when I saw like
I mean,
before
just 'cause
I never even
love
played.
something or passionate about it doesn't make me
Sometimes
my
that's
opinion
kind of
right.
Yeah.
too, if you're like so passionate about something that it kind of like blinds you about.
Yeah.
And I say that like when I do review of Asmus because I love I do love Lord of the Rings, and sometimes you review these things with, you know, rose-colored glasses that you don't find anything wrong with it, and sometimes that's dangerous too. So
Yeah, and I agree.
Or
I
sometimes you're the
agree.
opposite, where you're overly critical because you love something so much.
right.
But I think at the same time, like if you are passionate, you can pick out the things that are wrong and openly admit it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that doesn't mean that all the attacks and like all the toxic stuff has to be welcomed in with it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that's my
definitely.
thing. Is it's like that's where it's wrong, and we're finding that it's a top. Look, pretty much in this geek community that we actually hold near and dear, it's showing to be more toxic than anything else that I've actually seen, even on a political level.
Yeah.
Literally, like even from collecting, from movies, everything. Like it's just so toxic because if somebody says something that they like, then automatically somebody jumps on board and they're like, you know what? No, this, that, and the third. You're trash and it's like what? Just because I like something? So okay, so if I let's say what figures out there. So basically, if I picked up the in-game quantum suit Tony Stark and I really gush over that suit and I say I love it, am I wrong? No, I'm going to, if I openly say that, right, I'm going to get attacked by somebody because they don't like it or they basically may feel like it was a release. It's like, for instance, I'll give you an example. Last night, what did Hot Toys do? They released a reissue of the Iron Man, of the War Machine suit.
Yep.
Okay, fine. You did that. That's cool. Whatever. For those who basically didn't get a chance to get the figure, it's their chance to get it. Did you see the backlash on that last night? There were so many people that were coming out saying, you know what? F Hot Toys, I'm done. People making videos. F Hot Toys, I'm done. I don't want to be a part of it anymore because y'all did this.
Was it optical?
Optimus getting it.
Optimus was getting it. But I was seeing other channels that were openly coming at people just because they said, "Yo, if finally I get a chance to get this." You think Hot Toys is where he gives a F about what you think? No. But you have an opinion, and that's completely fine. But once it gets toxic, like my love for Star Wars may not be the same for everybody else. I may have a personal attachment to it, but I am also willing to admit if something is effed up. And to me, the sequels were effed up. And I can admit that.
Absolutely.
Certain parts of the prequels were effed up.
And
I can admit that.
yeah.
But I'll honestly say that it was more cohesiveness there than with the sequels. But I just think that
it's not even an opinion anymore, Leo. Because you know why? We were speculating. Okay, they didn't have a plan. J.J. Abrams came out and officially said there was no plan, and that is just as a Star Wars fan, we deserve better. Everyone that liked the sequels deserved better because you know what? Even though you liked it, you could have gotten better.
And I agree. I like the sequels, and I agree with you. Yeah,
You could have gotten better. You could have gotten like some MCU type of level type.
Yeah,
of
I really like the
content.
sequels, but I can't deny they definitely could have been more cohesive and probably better films overall if they were more well planned out. No doubt.
But
So,
again,
though, when I watched the and you guys know this, when I watched the first episode, which is Force Awakens, I was hyped. I even took a picture of
Yeah.
Kylo. After this, I'm glad I didn't pick up Kylo and Rey. So I can't wait till the Last Jedi if I'm gonna change my feelings. And this is not, again, this is me being a casual guy. I'm the guy that Disney's trying to get, right? I'm the new guy that's trying to get Star Wars. That didn't work for me. I'm just saying. I'm not saying it's a horrible film. It's not the worst film that I've ever seen. But that took away from the Force Awakens. That everything that I liked about the Force Awakens was taken out by this Last Jedi. And this is not me gushing over like, oh man, I wish they had that. No, I don't love the old guys that much. It just didn't work for me. Like this movie itself, as a casual, the guy that Disney's trying to get didn't work for me. So I can't wait for the Last Jedi.
I think
exactly.
that's what
And you
happened,
see where I say it backfired and where Disney backfired on that. Because you were a casual fan that were trying to, this was like your entryway into trying to, just kind of attach yourself to it. They had a plan thinking that was going to work, and to F all the fans, the loyal fans, they're thinking, okay, we'll get all the new fans and they'll understand. That was a backfire.
And I think they're trying to get guys like me because that Last Jedi was not for kids. It's
No, that was a darker film. Yeah.
they were trying to get the male demographics of our age. Middle-aged guys going to be like, oh man, this is like Snyder-esque. You know, kind of like, oh man, I like this dark theme. It didn't
Oh,
work.
the Snyder.
Yeah,
That's another thing.
it didn't work
That's
for me.
another thing.
So I can't
The
wait for the
Snyder,
what do you call this? The last movie because I want to see that. I've seen it, but
Oh,
again,
Rise of Skywalker. Yeah.
Rise of Skywalker. Let's see if that's gonna be make me like, hey man, I want to get that Kylo and Ray again. You know,
Right.
it's good. Like
It
get
might
these
not.
emotions that you go back and forth. It's
But I
just-
think we all agreed. Like, I mean, you know, The Force Awakens was a very good start. Everyone liked it at the time, but then Last Jedi came out, and like that's the only thing I don't think you guys did this at all, but I do think a lot of Star Wars fans have retroactively decided they don't like The Force Awakens because of The Last Jedi, and I feel like that's not fair.
And that's not fair.
Yeah, I feel
It's
like
not
that's
fair,
because
and that's
Last Jedi
why
was
I
beloved. I
separated.
mean, Force Awakens was beloved. Yeah, it should be separated.
Yeah.
They're,
But I
they're
separated
still a
from
trilogy, but they're different films.
after
Yeah.
we watch this last film, the Rise of Skywalker, I think we can judge now as a trilogy.
Yeah,
Because,
sure.
I mean, y'all can judge it anyway, but after this, we can like judge it as a whole because it's made to become 3 movies, right?
Yeah, right.
It's made to become 3 movies, and we judge them like individually initially because we're reviewing a film by itself. Like I liked the first one, I didn't like it so much, and then the third one we can talk about if we like it individually, and then we can talk
Right,
about
right.
as a
But it's
trilogy.
interesting. Like it's, I won't go too far down on it, but like, I guess everyone has a different approach in how they construct their trilogy, like filmmakers. Because like Dark Knight is a trilogy, but they all feel like very like individual films. You know what I mean? Like they don't feel like one overarching story. They feel like
But
sort of
the villains there is different from every movie too.
right.
So it's like-
Exactly.
and
That's
unlike-
probably why.
Unlike in this one where you have two, protagonists and antagonists where you're following their paths. Unlike in Dark Knight, yeah, it's still Batman, but it's like in different sequences. He was
Right.
older from beginning and then middle. So it's like this one is more like Game of Thrones, where the first 7 seasons was amazing, and then the last one, and you can't you can't judge the first 7 because we have a bad ending, but it's kind of connected.
Right.
You know, it's kinda
I think the real more of the story as we end this year is like basically, in my opinion, like you don't want to do all fan service, but you want to find the happy medium. You don't want to piss off your fans by basically like taking everything they expect and throwing it out the window, because I think that's obviously been shown to be a formula for disaster. And I think you have to find the happy medium. Give us something new like Mandalorian and something unexpected, but also something satisfying. And I feel like that is what Mando has done so effectively. And that's why it's reinvigorated Star Wars, like single-handedly.
And I think Obi-Wan is going to do the same thing.
Deborah Chow,
agree.
man. She's gonna
Deborah
nail it.
Deborah Chow is going to kill it, and
She's gonna kill
that's
it.
my most anticipated, even more than Ahsoka and on Boba
The
Fett.
rewrites make
It's
me nervous,
Obi-Wan.
though. They had to rewrite like the whole script because something
Yeah.
went wrong. Like that made
But
me a
the
little
original
nervous
writer
about that.
was
Yeah, right. They had like that. Hopefully that's okay. But it made me a little nervous.
I think it'll be all right.
But
I think
Deborah
it'll be
Chow, I
okay.
trust.
I do trust
Obi-Wan-
Deborah Chow.
That Obi-Wan show would just make the prequels a lot better now.
Yeah, probably will. 6
It
episodes
will.
will do it. Yeah.
Yeah, because like us, Will, the one who doesn't
Yeah.
want to watch Clone Wars, this is our Clone Wars.
Right.
And like this is where we're gonna see Anakin being Vader and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Can't wait
yeah.
for that show.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
neither. I can't wait for it.
I can't wait. I can't wait for it either.
I can't wait
Um,
for that because I sold my Anakin. So review.
Yep.
It's
Well,
coming.
there'll probably be a
It's a-
flashback scene or something. Yeah. Oh, I need to list mine like right now then.
Oh
Yeah, I've been telling you, list it, sell it now. Because
Anyone want a
it-
Dark Side Anakin if you're watching? Dark Side Anakin. He's available.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to
How much?
Probably 800.
Oh
Because-
my gosh.
Because it's market value.
Yes.
Like go on the Facebook groups. You'll see Dark Side Anakin. He's going for a pretty penny.
but
See, I have my light side, and because I missed out on dark side at the very beginning, I'm never letting the light side go.
well,
That's
I'm
the
just
only one I
saying.
got.
Didn't
I sold
Sideshow
my light
cancel your
side
order?
recently.
What you say?
I sold my light side local.
How much?
no
How much you
fees.
sell it for?
I sold it for 600.
600. See, I can get 800 for Dark Side then.
That's
Absolutely.
See?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I have a feeling this. I don't know. Just a hunch. This Obi-Wan is really going to be a good show, and I think we're going to get a good.
We're gonna get a new Vader 100%.
Yeah, we're going to get a good Obi-Wan. Good Vader. Just remember that Obi-Wan from Hot Toys. There was like a mixed emotions in that. Doesn't look like right. The stash is a little thicker. I believe the show would redeem all that. I don't know. I just have a feeling.
You'll see.
Yeah, we will see.
We'll see. And again, this is a great conversation. And I
It's
again,
all love,
I'm not,
you guys.
I know. I
100%.
just I don't want to be like I don't want to knock on anyone for liking the sequel trilogy. Again, like I always say it, I'm very jealous of you guys that like the sequel trilogy
Yeah.
because I absolutely tried. And with all my heart, I really did. And I just can't come to it. You know, I try to overlook the flaws. It's just too many. It's just
You didn't like
too
Force
many.
Awakens?
I like The Force Awakens, but
You got
fan
tarnished,
fiction
though, right?
now.
ever since then,
Tarnished.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I mean, dude, that's totally cool. Like, don't try too hard to like it, because then, like, you don't want to love it just because it's Star Wars. You know what I mean?
well, as a it's as a Star Wars fan, it hurts. It does.
Yeah,
hurt.
it does. I know.
It does
Like I
hurt.
said,
Like-
Last of Us. I feel you, man. I
Will,
feel you.
You like Lord of the Rings, right?
Oh, dude, I love
Would
the
you
trilogy.
say that The Hobbit is the sequel for like the sequel for Lord
The
of the Rings?
Hobbits are very disappointing. Let's say that.
Would
Like, would you say they're the sequel?
no? Would you put them in the same category as the Star Wars sequel?
No, I like the sequels a lot more. Yeah.
Oh, then
Than the Hobbit. Yeah, the Hobbit film. Like, I actually like Battle of the Five Armies. That was pretty solid. But they 100% pale in comparison to the originals, which I'm sure PJ
Yeah.
feels about this with Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
You know, I felt that's different. Like the Hobbits, I didn't like initially, and then the more I watch it, the more I like it. This is my second watching of the Last Jedi.
Right.
The more I watch it, the more I don't like it.
That's how I am in Last Jedi. But the other two I love. The more I watch them, the more I like them. But like I like the JJ films. So
Yeah, the next
We'll
one,
see how you
I'll,
feel,
I'll
but-
watch it. Yeah,
yeah. But
But
the
that's-
problem is, yeah, you
it's
have
crazy.
Last Jedi in your mind, but yeah.
It's crazy because, like I said, for somebody who's never played The Last of Us, you know what I mean? I still know that, you know, Joel was a important character. He was pretty much one of the faces of the first game.
Yeah.
So then when the shocker came around and then, you know, you start seeing videos of what actually happened and how he died, I'm like, damn, why would they kill him off so early? Like, that's just the way I felt. Like, yo, why would they kill him off like
Oh,
that?
me too.
And I didn't, you know, it was kind of crazy because I didn't see that coming. But this is also coming from somebody who's never played the game. But I respected how I could feel the disappointment in someone who really loved the game. You know what I mean? Like, wow, like why would you do something like that? And I compare that to, you know, watching the Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. That's how I felt. And to be quite honest, like literally once we get to that point, I hated the Rise of Skywalker more than I hated the Last Jedi. I literally hate, yes,
Okay.
literally
That'll be a fun
hate it.
discussion then.
I feel like PJ does for this film, for that film. I literally hate
Really?
the Rise of Skywalker.
you hate it more than Last Jedi,
everything.
okay.
Yeah, I did. Literally did.
Okay.
we should have
I-
like a watch party for this.
Yeah. We should watch it all together.
No, I can't. I can't.
Yes.
But
Eat the meat, baby.
but
Then after watching, let's all beat the meat.
We'll all beat
we
the
have a
meat
timer. We should all go up at the same time. Like
Oh,
a
there we
New
go. That's a
Yeah.
smart idea, actually. We could time it out.
yeah,
like
and
New
you
Year's
know
Eve.
what though? Yeah, and you know what I was gonna say is with the sequels, they got a lot of bad press that was going behind the scenes stuff. You know, there was a lot of bad.
Director
Things that were-
changes, like
Yeah.
everything was. It was
Leaked-
just
Yeah, the
toxic.
Colin
Yeah.
Trevorrow thing was a mess.
Leak script. The leak
Oh,
script.
John Boyega did that on purpose.
You think John Boyega did it on purpose?
Oh,
Yeah,
I
he did
think
that
so.
on purpose.
Oh,
He
I
did
think
that on
Literature is
purpose.
bad, yeah.
He probably
was
read
like-
that damn. He read that script in the hotel. And he's like, "Oh, this is what you're doing to me."
Yeah, he was
Okay.
like, I'm leaving that.
Room
movie."
service. Like straight up.
He was like, you want this script for eBay? I'm
Straight
gonna
up.
sell it.
Yeah,
Like, he did that on purpose.
I agree. I agree. He probably did it on purpose, man. Because how you gonna leave a script underneath your pillow and just
Yeah,
leave? Like that's
it's-
like
yeah, it's not a
That's
good look.
you know, like dude, like this is the only film where a script got leaked out of all the 9 movies, out of all the Star Wars movies.
Yeah,
This is the
he didn't
only
give a shit about that.
Yeah.
He knew it was his last film, and he knew at that time there was no turning back. They couldn't change the character, so he left it right under the bed. He's like, "Yep, yeah, whoever finds it, they just find it." And
Yeah,
for the whole
they
script to
messed-
get leaked like that online, yeah, he did that on
That-
purpose.
He
Yeah.
read that and he was like, my disappointment is immeasurable. My day is ruined.
It's like,
Yeah, he was like,
he would
"Nah."
go, like what?
Yeah.
That's what he thought.
He was like,
And you know,
"Nah."
and it's a shame too, man. These are great actors, and you know,
Yeah.
to have like, I'm saying you don't hear that from actors that were in Christopher Nolan's Batman or even the MCU, right? They're like, we're not coming. To have Oscar Isaac says, I'm not doing another Star Wars movie, you know, like, that's just
It's interesting though. Like he said a separate thing too. Like he doesn't like big budget films, and then he went and signed up for Moon Knight. So I mean, like it's kind of like
Well, because
I don't know what to believe with him anymore. But
I think it's because he just didn't like how his character was portrayed.
that too. But he said he greatly prefers indie films, and he doesn't really like big budget films. And then he signed up for Moon Knight. So I was like, that seems kind of counterproductive.
Well,
to
I
what
mean, you
just
got to
said.
think. You got to
He
kind
was-
of think though. It's the Moon Knight to us, to some fans are known, but to everybody else, he's unknown. So
True.
you know, what I mean? It's just a way to kind
Maybe
of
so.
bring it's your way to kind of give that character your own personality and for people to gravitate to at that time. People know Star Wars. You know what I mean? So regardless if you're a new character or not, if it's Star Wars attached to it, you know what I mean? There's a lot of pressure behind it. But Moon Knight, he has a way that he can make that character his own. So.
It's gonna be sick.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
you
it's
know
gonna be
what? Too,
crazy.
like he says big budget films, and then he's in Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
There's a Metal Gear Solid film.
Yeah, he's Snake.
Yeah. He plays Snake. Yeah.
He's Solid Snake.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So much for the indie
Yeah.
film gig.
But he's just saying that because he's
just upset.
he's just trying to like say, like not really bash Star Wars
Right. Maybe so.
as as a whole. I just
And he's getting
know,
paid. So
Yeah, plus he's
and there's a pretty
probably
big
still-
paycheck with those big budget, especially a franchise. If you do multiple films, there's some money to
And
be
every
made.
time it gets shown on TV or something, you get some royalties.
Like an indie film's great, you might win an Oscar, but how much money are you gonna make
But
from that?
Not
even,
much.
like exactly.
Royalties
So
for that.
Yeah,
exactly. And for him to say that, to burn his bridges, like I'm not going to do another Star Wars film, even though you're going to get big bucks, it's saying something that there's probably a lot of stuff we didn't see, like that went on behind the
Yeah.
scenes, especially with with John Boyega. Finn is probably one of the biggest disappointments out of everything. Out of
It
all
got
the
ugly
characters.
for sure. Yeah.
Well, I
It's a
mean,
shame.
a lot. There was a lot going on. There was a lot of tension. From just being a minority itself.
Right.
How he was even treated in China. Like, you know what I mean. That kind of set him off the rail in a sense, where he was like, it put a kind of a big distaste in his mouth. And then just the treatment of the character in general. It's like, like you build me up to be, there's that huge expectations for me as a character, and then the way I'm treated in the next film, and then what you do to me in the last film, all I'm doing is screaming Ray the entire time. Like that should have been his dialogue the entire time. Like Ray should have been his dialogue, like Chewbacca. Ray, 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 Ray. Like that's just the way it should have been. You know what I mean? Because that's all we got from him is screaming for Ray.
That was
Like-
the script. So. That's great.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I'm sure we could go on about this forever because this movie.
You
is
opened
just,
up this wound. Now it's bleeding.
Put a Band-Aid on it, man.
I can't.
You can Band-Aid that. Well, the Rise of Skywalker will be your Band-Aid because it'll be good.
Not for Leo. He's-
Not for the album.
No, Rise of
PJ
Skywalker.
loves Rise of Skywalker.
I might get sick on that day.
Rise of Skywalker.
I might be like, yeah, I can't. I'm kind of sick. I can't.
Yo, I'm sick. I got.
I'm off tomorrow.
COVID.
I'm not gonna watch it. I only watch it when I'm working. So
Yeah, exactly.
Big
All right,
screen.
guys. Well, you got anything coming up? PJ, we can start with you. Go ahead.
I have the Scout Trooper review finally. That should be dropping tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow morning. I was gonna upload it, but then my internet would have been choppy while I was doing the stream. But yeah, that's about it. I have the Ray. Oh my gosh! Speaking of Rise of Skywalker,
Mine arrives tomorrow.
I have Ray and Kylo review coming up pretty soon. So
Are you doing
Yeah.
a joint review with both of them?
no, separate.
Oh, they're separate. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, they're separate. So that should be interesting for anybody that's really interested in my opinion on that Ray figure. I don't know. People might not like it, so well, who cares?
Hey,
It's
if
just
I
my-
didn't already buy them, I probably would have bought them from you. So
yeah, I mean, I'm gonna hold
I
on
might
to
buy it
that.
from you after watching the Rise of Skywalker. You never know.
I can't wait to see what you think, Optical. I have a feeling you're probably not going to like it, but we're going to find out.
I've already seen it. I just
Oh, have you?
I've seen it. Yeah, I got the disc at home. I just
Oh, okay, gotcha. So you just have to
Yeah.
refresh your memory on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Optical, what's
So-
coming up for you? Or PJ, sorry, I didn't know if you had more.
Oh
so-
no, that's it.
Okay.
I don't know. I'll probably do a stream maybe Friday. No, I'm working Saturday. Maybe Monday, and then I got the Mando Deluxe. I finally got it.
Oh, your picture was good, man.
Yeah, that picture was sick, man.
I'm playing with rim lighting so far. So
Oh, okay.
it's working. It's hard to do it on a figure because it absorbs light so much. But it's playing around with
Mando's
that.
shiny.
It's shiny, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's all. And then
Are
I'll
you liking the figure?
honestly, I kind of want to sell the other one. I feel like
Really?
they're too similar that I put them on a shelf that I was like, I don't know about this. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like them both. Yeah.
I'm
but-
just gonna follow PJ around whenever he streams. So really, yesterday PJ was like geeking out. I was like commenting as a different user, like my name was Ball Boys, and he started addressing me.
Oh, was that you?
Was that me?
Oh my
I was
god.
just like PJ. I was like, let's beat the.
So I know I'm supposed to go on collecting weekly at some point, and if I do that, then I'm sure if Ball Boy shows up, then I know exactly who it is.
I might show up as, I don't know. We'll see.
You'll show up as something. You two will, come together and come up with some
We'll
idea.
figure some. Zack
Yeah.
Snyder loves you. I don't know.
300 fan #1. Leia, what about you, man? What's coming up?
So tomorrow I get both Cap and the Batman Beyond that arrives
Oh, nice.
here tomorrow. So I'll probably do a couple of reviews on that. I don't know if I'll get to it tomorrow. Well, I'll probably get to Cap tomorrow, possibly, and Batman Beyond on Saturday. Friday, I'm supposed to be on what is it? What's Aries' show? What's it called?
Oh, 6 scale Cantina.
6 Scale Cantina. Yeah, so I'm supposed to be on that one on Friday evening. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, just a couple of reviews coming up and yeah, that's all.
Nice.
Cool, man.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This is such a productive discussion. PJ got to reopen an old wound. That's fantastic. And we can just
I don't know who to blame, Optical or Will, for this.
optical.
Probably Optical.
Anytime.
Yeah.
No, but PJ, like I said, you'll take that Rise of Skywalker Band-Aid and I can mail you some, and then you'll just stick it right on that Last Jedi wound and you'll be good as new.
No. It's,
Yeah.
no. There is.
That's how it's gonna go. Or just get I'll send you an Abby figure or something, and you can just
Oh,
put
that's
her arms
even
around
better.
your throat, and
I
you'll
can't
just
wait for the kissing scene towards the end of that movie.
yeah. We
I
should
can't
we
wait-
should live react to that all together.
I seriously can't wait for The Last of Us talk.
Yeah, we're gonna
One-
do that.
1 and 2.
Well, because you like Last of Us 2, don't you?
I do. I like it. I like I said, I totally understand it. The thing is, I like the gameplay.
Yeah, the game is great.
The gameplay is
Gameplay
great.
is phenomenal.
I definitely agree with you. I'll save it for the stream.
Yeah, I'll see. Bro.
It'll be fun. But all right, guys, thank you so much for watching. This is a great stream. We're gonna do Rise of Skywalker sometime soon. Just not sure when exactly, but definitely in the near future. Maybe we'll do a watch party.
Woohoo!
Yeah. No.
Let's do that.
Yeah, let's do it. PJ Leal will probably want to die, but it's fine. We'll get through it, I'm sure, with all of us. But all right, guys, thanks so much for watching. That's all for now. And yeah, have a good one. And thanks so much for joining us.